Hey Mohammed, how's it going? All right. Well. Hello. Hey, hi. Hello. What's up? What's up? Hey guys. Hi. Guess who I am? I'm Goose. Welcome. Today we're really just gonna be looking at some trailers. We're gonna be looking at some. We're gonna be breaking them down, seeing if we can notice any of the noticeable details that perhaps might help us. You know, you know how it is. Might help us determine, what a plot might be about, what the hype might be about, all that kind of stuff. We're doing it, and the stream is suffering for just a bit, but it's because it's rainy out. Rain always makes the stream hiccup, but if you're noticing a delay or lag or anything like that, it should clear up, you know? It ain't gonna last forever. Not gonna last forever. Anywho, if you don't know me, I'm Goose. I do streams about 4 days a week. What's up, Helmet? How's it going? And I stream on both Twitch and YouTube. That's about the long and short of it. I'm gonna record as well, just so that I can pick up on some of the. I think maybe it might actually let me look at some times when the stream is lagging, so I can kind of analyze and see, like, I don't know what time things are happening. I don't know if it'll help, but let's take a look at it. So I know that I'm just typing in official trailer. I know that that's like corny or whatever, but and it comes up with all the AI slop. But gosh darn it, I'm old. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm old. All right, I type in Gmail into the address bar. I type Gmail in. Okay, one should not have to do that if one is computer literate. I'm an old man, so you're just gonna have to be patient with the old man. Okay. So Supergirl, what's cool about Supergirl? Who even is Supergirl? Oh my gosh, how do you even quantify what a Supergirl is? Supergirl is actually the first representation of a Kryptonian in any kind of live action that I've ever seen. I saw the original, like the 1990 version, I think it was, but I don't really remember if I remember it that much. I don't know if Clark was in it. I don't know if there was any kind of. I think it was basically just a Superman story, but gender flipped. I guess we could look up a breakdown, but I want to like preface this by saying that I'm going to try and stay within the limits of fair use here. So I'm probably not going to play the trailer the whole way through. I'm going to start and stop it a bit. If you want to go see the trailer without any stoppages, I would absolutely encourage you to go do that. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to just kind of address maybe the things that I know about DC and Marvel and about DC, I guess, since this is specifically a DC property. But I'm going to be trying to just kind of remember this book run and see if I can identify like how accurate it seems to be to that particular run of comics. From what I understand from the buzz on the internet is that it seems to be pretty adherent to the comic book run of this particular story. And so I'm excited to see. I've already watched this, but so I've pre-watched it. But it was last night. There was some cunny boss had been had, and I may not remember every detail as clear as it was. I'm just kidding. I remember, but we're acting like this is the first time, okay? So I don't want to just like dispel that myth, okay? Suspend your disbelief just a little bit. Yeah, sorry if the stream is a little laggy. Again, it is raining in my neighborhood, so I apologize. If you're just joining, please stick around. We're trying to get to 500 subbies. That is the next big milestone. And once we get up to either, there's two milestones that we're looking for. One, if we can get up to 20 viewers concurrent, that would be really freaking cool, and that would also trigger the threshold for the VHS tour, so you can get a tour of some really awesome classic early 90s and late 80s and 70s and whatnot VHS horror movies and action movies and whatnot. Yeah, in addition, we're also, if we hit 500 subs, then that's when we will be able to also do a tour. Those are the thresholds. It's 500 subs or 20 concurrent viewers will earn a tour of the VHS wall, of the grand wall of this. Unfortunately, it's always when I start out with the most viewers that the stream lags. It's always when I start out with like 40 viewers, and then the stream is like going at 5200 kpbs. So I would assume that it's almost unwatchable right now, which is really fucking frustrating. Really fucking frustrating. It's always when it's fucking raining outside. I don't get it. It sucks. Really sucks. I'm gonna turn off all other possible like Wi-Fi things. Why am I still connected to Bluetooth? I just want to turn it off. There we go. I'm just gonna make sure that all the whatever digital noise exists, I'm gonna try and make it go away. Yeah, Helmet, sorry, that's because I am lagging just a little bit. Now it's a black screen. Cool. Well, it doesn't look like a black screen on my end here. It does keep freezing though. Oh, it sucks. Yeah, there's no way to fix that. It's how it's gonna be for forever, unfortunately, until I move to a better area. We're supposed to be it's supposed to be like fiber optic or whatever. Like it's a really good. I don't know. We encounter this every once in a while. Yeah. Dropping 20% of my frames right now. I'm gonna start it over. Give me a sec. Nah, it's just my internet in general. Is what it looks like, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do. My apologies. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, unfortunately. I have tried numerous times to try and get the stream to be consistent and to not lag out as much as possible, but there's only so much you can do, you know? It's really frustrating that, like, that's, you know, what has to happen, but there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. I am sorry to my viewers. I really... And like I said, it's always, you know, when I get the most viewers right off the bat, that makes it this way, and it's really frustrating. That's why we need to just grow the community, honestly, because then if YouTube goes down, you can move over to Twitch, or if the rain sucks, then you'll at least be notified when I do go live, like when it's not a complicated issue. I'm gonna be freezing every 5 seconds in a bit here, just because of the sheer nature of the internet right now, unfortunately, Helmet. I am sorry. So yeah, sorry. Lots of housekeeping. You know, the drawback of everything is that I end up being ready for the stream right on time, and then I get technical difficulties. That's actually how it happens most of the time. Like, I'm always trying to fix up some technical difficulty that's happening. But we're dropping 47% of frames right now, so this stream is probably unwatchable at the moment, unfortunately. All I can do is just wait for the weather to change. It's always when it's stormy. It's always when there's a lot of electromagnetic interference. Yeah, like I said, there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. I mean, you can't even understand what I'm saying, like, probably because it's so laggy. Weird though, it's just the shorts feed. If I dial up internet, probably. Yeah, weird. So the YouTube Shorts feed is the only one that's fudged up, because I just looked at my dashboard and the regular one is doing just fine. I'm so confused. I don't know how that works. Screw you, YouTube. Anywho, I'm gonna start this damn trailer. Guys, if you don't know who Supergirl is, she's really cool. Alright, let's start the trailer, then we'll talk about it.
Hey, I was just touching base to see when you think you might be coming back.
Clearly that's Soups. You could recognize his voice anywhere. He's a handsome man. And gosh darn it, wait, let me make sure that my dog doesn't have to go out. She keeps walking back and forth. Stop. Sorry, I live in a working household. Can only hear bits of what I'm saying. Well, fuck, man. Join the horizontal stream. Go to the horizontal stream. I don't know how to fix this. I really wish I did. I don't know what it means when it says any of the stuff that it's saying. What it says. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I think what's happening is the horizontal stream is actually using the same channel. Like, it's using the same URL as the horizontal one, which they're not supposed to do that because they end up conflicting. So I'm not really sure how to fix that. Yeah. I have no idea how to fix that. I think it has to be specific to the shorts section of YouTube. I don't know, honestly. I wish I did. I would be interested in that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how not a and like I'm looking right now for fixes, and apparently it's not a thing. Like there is no way to fix it. Everyone just says I'm experiencing the same problem. So I don't know. Why are you texting me during my fucking stream? Oh, I'm not in entertainment or film and animation. Come on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I knew. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, YouTube Shorts feed. Feels shitty. Feels real shitty. Settings. The YouTube gods don't want you to have a vertical view. Like I said, Helmet, it's literally always like the when I start out with like 40 viewers, because the second the stream turned on today, there were like 40 some odd viewers, and it would have been great if the stream was working, because then we would have been able to actually, you know, have those viewers. Okay, well, maybe the issues are going away. No. There've been I'm even getting a warning here that says that YouTube's not receiving enough video, and it looks like it's fucking up on my end. Unfortunately. But I really don't know how to change that. I wish I did. I really wish I did. Alright, well, fuck. We almost had a real uptick in activity here. Yeah, Helmet Skippy doesn't really ever say anything seriously. As has been my... Well, I mean, Skippy has some nuggets of wisdom every now and again. So we'll start this over.
Hey, I was just touching base to see when you think you might be coming back. You know, I'm just worried that you're not going to find your stride here if you keep going off-world all the time, Kara.
So obviously, we're following the overarching storyline of, I think, one of her most famous or most well-recognized or well-loved storylines, which is the Woman of Tomorrow. If you're not familiar with it, it's really just a... she was off planet. She was trying to find, herself, I guess. And she drinks a lot. She's an alcoholic. Well, not alcoholic, but like she drinks a lot. She goes to places that surround red suns so that she can actually like get drunk. That is my current recollection of this storyline. Hopefully that goes on as the trailer goes on. But obviously, you know, she got crypto. This also happened in that storyline as well.
I'm worried you're not going to find your people.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Clark. I have no people.
So if you noticed,
Time, Kara.
this is that dude.
Worried you're not going to find your people.
Yeah, well, that's the
Sorry,
thing,
I
Clark.
rewound it too much. So if you notice, that's that dude. That's that one dude who's he was in. He's part of a comedy duo but he's been in like shit since I was growing up. Like he's been in a ton of shit, and it's cool that he's part of this. But you almost never see him really anymore. He mostly does like podcasts with his comedy partner. They also write a bunch. They're really well known. I think they are Jewish writers. I think they have a whole thing about being Jewish. His comedy partner, I believe, might have been in Saving Private Ryan, if I'm thinking of the right guy. You'll see his face better further on in the trailer.
Have
But as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Kara Zor-El is from Kandor. If she's not from Kandor, correct me, but I believe that's where she's from. And it looks like the dad is, you'll see.
no people.
Yeah, apparently the horizontal view is just fine. I only ever get like viewership on the vertical stream, and that's the one that's like messing up right now. It looks like it's getting a little better on the stream health front, so hopefully that'll continue. But it was looking pretty bad there for a while, and there's always a chance it can get bad again, because if it's storming out, that's just how it is. So as you can see, there's like a shield wall going down, and this kind of like, because I feel like there's supposed to be there were some rumors about Brainiac being a villain coming up here pretty soon, like for the Man of Tomorrow possibly, and perhaps right in the culmination of this story might be when we first see Brainiac or something. Like if this is a shield going around the city of Kandor, then it could lead to the bottled city of Kandor, I guess is all I'm trying to say here.
Home is wherever you are, buddy.
Crypto and I at least had each other.
So the way that this kind of happened was that Kara, I think it was either she went through a time vortex or Clark went through a time vortex. Something happened that caused their ages to be wildly different. To her, this is all like pretty recent. Like Kandor falling, Krypton being destroyed. This is all fairly recent. Just in the comic book, in the comic sense. I'm not sure if it's true in this particular sense. But the whole time, like, she was floating along in space, and like maybe she was in cryo sleep or something. But so Clark, he was a baby, and she was already like, I think maybe 12, 13, something like that when this all happened. And so like she already was a grown-up, kind of, I guess like she was already old enough to remember that kind of trauma, but Clark was not. And so Clark was able to live on Earth and just become Superman and not have to deal with any of that, like, oh, I'm the last of my kind existentialism, until he was an adult. So he had a whole basis for good parenting along the way. He had a whole basis for like developing a life on this alien planet completely normally. Whereas Kara has to now adjust to an entirely new existence, and now this role that's been thrust upon her as essentially a hero. And so like her whole thing is that she's depressed. She leaves Earth super often because she doesn't want to have to deal with it. So she's dispassionate, she's depressed, she's apathetic, and guess what this movie might help achieve? Perhaps give her some sense of, understanding what it means to be a hero. And that's kind of the point of Woman of Tomorrow, which I think is really cool.
Honestly, I thought we
Because this
were
is
lucky.
the same this is the same journey that we take, when we are away from home, when we are embarking on something new. It's the same exact journey. We're trying to figure out how we fit into this new equation. And for her, it's like a more existential quality because her planet's gone, because her people are gone, her parents are dead. But for us, it's like when we leave our nest and we move to a new environment, it's scary and it's unrecognizable and it's alien to us, and it takes a huge amount of resilience and the ability to adjust to that kind of trauma, to process it, that can make us into heroes. You know, it's the overcoming that adversity and finding your place in the universe. That's why this story is really, really fucking cool.
But look, almost by definition runs out.
What can I do?
You don't ever fucking harm Crypto. You don't ever fucking harm Crypto. I think the whole... So this is almost shot for shot, or almost beat for beat, exactly how the story, like, pans out in Woman of Tomorrow. I think it might be some person, like an alien person. I don't know what you would call, like a native of this planet. I think it's that in the Woman of Tomorrow, they're condensing it a little bit. It looks like they're replacing this nameless bodyguard. He's not nameless, but this bodyguard, hired bounty hunter, whatever he is in that storyline. They're replacing him with Lobo, and it looks like they're taking the Crypto character and putting it in place of the person that gets injured. Something like that. I cannot really remember. I think what happens is she goes, this girl goes and tries to find help avenging her parents, and she goes into a bar, and it's a seedy bar, underworld kind of shit, and she ends up like trying to find some random bounty hunter or some random like mercenary or whatever, and he refuses to help. He says like, this is all, just what happens here, and like if you're strong enough to go and kill him, you'll go kill him, and if you're weak enough, then you won't. And that's what separates people on this planet, or existence, or in the universe, or whatever. And so he refuses, and he even like, she's annoyed that he won't help, and so he even like goes to like beat her up or tries to kill her or something like that, and she gets saved by Supergirl, and Supergirl like beats up everyone in the place, and she's still all like drunk and whatever, and so she doesn't even realize what's happening. She wakes up the next morning having been I think reclothed into her Supergirl outfit, because this child, or I guess she's like, looks like she's maybe late teens, early 20s in this, she puts them on her thinking that they are her pajamas, which is hilarious.
The Brickens carry the antidote on that person. He has 3 days.
You cannot give up on me.
It's Krem of the Yellow Hills. He murdered my innocent family.
So Krem of the Yellow Hills was actually the dude's name. He's just some random evil piece of shit. And that's like sort of the cool thing about it, is that she's not fighting some like giant cosmic threat. She's just fighting a fucking bully, a fucking thug. And the cool thing about the Supergirl story, Woman of Tomorrow, is because it is centered around a red sun. She gets injured just like any human can. Like, she can get cut with swords, she gets shot with a bunch of arrows, but she doesn't give a shit, because she's still Kryptonian. She still has like more strength than other terrestrial humanoids. She has enhanced speed, but it's not like superhuman levels like it is when you get charged up with yellow sun energy. So yeah, it looks like the actual dropped frames have gone down quite a bit, and the KBPS is way up now, so should be good. But again, we don't have the viewers that we had when we first started. That's what pisses me off, is the fact that when I hit go and I introduced myself and I said this is what we're going to be doing, we had like 30 viewers, 30 just randos that were filtered into this stream, and we might have been able to keep them if it hadn't been effed up the way it was. Gosh darn it.
Just do what I say.
Don't die. This does not look like this is gonna end well. For you guys.
So yeah, they moved that around a little bit. They switched the order of things, probably to introduce Lobo, because otherwise, why is he just on some random planet like this? It makes sense. It's not going to be weird. It makes sense. They're just switching around some story details. But in the comic, what was really cool is that she had no inkling that Supergirl was going to be like powerful or strong or anything like that. She went up to the biggest, strongest guy there and was like, I need to hire you to go and kill this dude. And it turns out, he sucked, but she was able to find someone else who was like her size. And that's also why this is cool, because it's showing her that she doesn't have to just be who she is. She doesn't have to be weak. She doesn't have to be small in spirit. She can be a hero herself, and perhaps she'll recognize that by the end of the movie. See, there's the biggest, strongest guy in there, and it just happens to be Lobo instead of some random mercenary. That's such a good improvement to the story, and it makes it so much more streamlined. I think it's perfect.
You're hurting my head.
And if you weren't aware, Jason Momoa originally thought he was auditioning for Lobo and was then handed the Aquaman role. So this is what he wanted to be initially. He was like, I'd be the perfect Lobo. And then when they were talking about like James Gunn taking over the DC universe, they were like, okay, you gonna do the James Momoa, or you gonna do the Jason Momoa thing? You gonna do it? You gonna do Lobo? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do Lobo. We'll do Lobo. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think he actively campaigned for it, which is, hey, good on him. So Krem, I think is what his name is, does manage to get into her ship and fly away. I don't think that he quite realizes what he's got his hands on, because in the comic they're like, what is this thing? Like they don't really recognize what a spaceship is.
Revenge. It won't take your pain away.
But that was after her having to realize that revenge won't take the pain away, because this has to be like in the very end of the movie, because she doesn't, for the longest time she's just apathetic. She's like, all my people are dead, I'm just mad at everybody and I'm gonna take it out on everybody, sort of thing. Like, she's full of rage. There's some of the coolest panels in any of the Supergirl comics are in that run.
Your eyes are beautiful when you cry. A lot of pain, huh? A lot of suffering.
I mean, obviously, you lose your planet, you lose your parents, you lose your house, you lose your home, you lose the ground beneath your feet. Yeah, you're probably going to be full of some pain for quite a while.
There's no home without you, buddy.
That was a very well-known panel when she took that axe. When she's throwing the axe into that, like, it's like a bike, it's like a hover bike, or like and it sticks in the front wheel and flips the guy. She's full of arrows at that point. She has just been shot with so many damn arrows, and they're like going through her chest and shit, and she just like doesn't care. She's still fighting. Can't really see. She's all shot.
Aren't you the ditz from that dive bar?
Funny. That's what I've been calling you.
The ditz from that dive bar.
Touche.
I think Jason Momoa is potentially both the best and worst casting choice for Lobo. He's getting a little old and he's looking a little weird. He's looking a little bit like Maui. Not bad. I mean, it's not, you know, it's like whatever, but I think they should have just cast him as Lobo when he was younger, because it's Lobo's all about like that, you know, I'm the main man, you know, kind of thing. Like he's boisterous, he's loud, and just not to say that that's not how he's going to be in this. It's just I don't see that yet, and I hope we really get to see, like, for what I understood, the word from the set is that he doesn't get as much screen time as he should, and I hope he gets a lot. I hope they really feature the shit out of him, because he looks really well designed. He looks good. I'm into it. I say go for it. Okay, DC, friggin' go for it. All right, friggin' go for it. Don't friggin' not go for it. So let me I'm changing the title real quick. When I do that, that's when videos have to be re-indexed. So maybe the live stream will get that big surge of viewers again. You can always hope. I really would like to just be doing like more casual and fun stuff than political and religious stuff. So if we get surges of viewers for this kind of stuff, I won't have to chase them elsewhere, you know? I know that sucks. It's like, you corny. Like if you have to chase them, that's what we're trying to do, man. You know, we're really trying to grow the community here. So the more viewers we can get, the more potential subscribers we can get. The more potential subscribers we can get, the more people who will actually tune in, and the more people that actually tune in, the more the the watch time will go up. And when the watch time goes up, then I can finally get memberships on the channel, and that'll be a good day. Gosh darn it. So next we're going to take a look at the Masters of the Universe trailer. I don't know if any of you remember the gosh, my sinuses again. Still, like, it feels like my sinus, like all like my nasal passages are just like closing in on each other, because we went straight from me having a 3-month-long sinus infection to allergy season. Insane. It's just my sinuses are just not going to get a break until like August. All right. I have the power. So, if you're not familiar with Masters of the Universe, it was a toy line called He-Man, and I don't remember which came first, whether it was the toy line or the animation, but they both came up around like the 80s ish, I think, like early 80s. And it was one of those like Saturday morning cartoon sort of things. They had She-Ra, they had the real Ghostbusters, which actually was not Ghostbusters, that was something completely different. They had the wacky races, they had all that stuff. And if you're old, you probably remember it. But if you're not old, like any of you rando viewers swiping in from everywhere across the internet on the Shorts feed, it was a really cool group of animated shows that released alongside toys that you could then buy and play with while you're watching the shows. Really fucking cool. I remember the original Masters of the Universe movie. I had toys including Castle Grayskull. It had a microphone that changed your voice. So that's what we're getting. That's what we're I'm coming on to that next. So after these series came out, they were very popular. Mattel, I believe, was the toy manufacturer, and so they had a lot of the same popularity as the things of the time, like the Ghostbusters that aren't the real Ghostbusters, the actual ones with like Bankman and stuff. And then you had like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You had all this, and then you had like all the role-playing stuff that people were into since like the 70s, where like Magic the Gathering was getting popular. You had like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff like that a little later. Pokemon even later. Point is, oh no, I'm on the horizontal. Fuck. I'm lagging on the horizontal. What can we do, you know? We can only just keep trying. But so the movie that then came out featured Dolph Lundgren. It had that short guy in it, Billy Barty. No, it wasn't Billy Barty. What was his name? Was it Billy Barty? Who played Gwildor? Sorry. It was Billy Barty. Okay. So if you saw the old Dolph Lundgren version of Masters of the Universe, then you saw this guy, Gwildor. He wasn't a thing. he wasn't a thing. So there were a lot of like arguments between the toy manufacturer and the studio, and I think it came down to rights issues or distribution or something like that. There was negotiating going on, and one side wasn't playing their part, the other side was, and it ended up becoming this issue where they had to replace characters from the. Why is this music is so loud right now? Is it? Come on. There we go. We'll keep it at 10. But so they had to essentially replace some characters with, and I think it was really just that ghost guy, like the oh man, who was the ghost guy? Orko. So this guy apparently was just not, he couldn't be done because he's like he floats around. I mean, they could have just made him look like a Jawa or something, but like it didn't work like that. It was, unfortunately, it just kind of had to work out this way. I think it actually has reasons. He was created specifically for the movie to provide comic relief as a substitute of Orko, whose design was too complex for the studio to produce in live action with its limited budget. They also, I think they even ran out of money like 3/4 of the way through the movie. That's why in the end they're like recycling footage and they have a lot of RDI. Like it's not, it's a janky movie, and it was not supposed to happen the way that it did, but the Skeletor was amazing. The Evil Lyn was amazing. The guy who was basically like a Shredder analog is amazing. They're all really cool, but it's not He-Man. You know, it's not actually Adam of Eternia. It's a lot of analogs. It's like basically we have Transmorphers at home. You know that meme. But it was really cool. It was a really good movie. It was like, maybe I remember it fondly because I grew up watching it and because I liked it a lot growing up. But even watching it recently, my mom, that's a Freudian slip for you there. My wife actually was watching it not too long ago, and I was dipping in at different times. I was like, this is still such a good movie. Such a good movie. And I never, when growing up, I was never like, oh, I really wish that, they would do another Masters of the Universe. I didn't really have like a need to see another Masters of the Universe, but along came one. And the teaser was fine. I was like, you're actually going to get a bunch of the authentic, like Mattel style stuff that is like accurate to the show. Like it'll feel like, it seems like it's gonna be pretty good. And then this trailer came out. I've never been more certain of my assumption that things are gonna be okay for the Masters of the Universe crowd until this fucking trailer came out. Let us watch.
I know most of you don't remember me.
So I'm pretty sure this is a completely new story. I don't know if they handled this. So a little bit about Eternia. Okay, Eternia is a realm that exists parallel to ours. It seems like it's a fantastical realm of myth and legend and yada yada. But it is actually happening, the timeline in Eternia is actually happening concurrent to ours. it has a very rich history, and its timeline kind of goes. How do I explain this? So in Eternia, there's evidence that astronauts that originally came from Earth were the progenitors of the Eternian race, which means that when we sent up one of the missions, I forget which one, it was an Apollo mission, I'm pretty sure, or maybe Voyager, I don't know. But when we sent up one of our space missions, the astronauts disappeared, right? And we don't know where they went. It could have been a time vortex where they went way back in time. I think that might be the leading canon idea, is that the time vortex sent them back into ancient times of Eternia, and they became the founders of Eternia, yada yada. They're the ones that built Castle Grayskull, right? So, and then the Elder, I think, is supposed to be one of them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it all shakes out. But Eternia is actually basically was made or established by people from Earth. So its timeline happens directly congruent with ours, and if it's 1993 in Eternia, it's 1993 in the real world, and vice versa. Adam of Eternia somehow, and I'm sure we'll find out in the movie, got banished to the Earth realm, just like Thor, back in the movie Thor. And he didn't have his sword, so he couldn't call upon his superhuman powers and perhaps multiversal teleportation capabilities. I'm pretty sure he can open a portal, but it comes from the sword. It's not, it doesn't, he doesn't actually, he's not able to do it. Or somewhat, one of his crew makes a portal. I don't remember. But somehow they've forgotten him. And I'm pretty sure this is the guy that can change faces. And then this is, no. We'll see. We'll see. What's his face? Idris Elba, I think, plays Man-at-Arms.
But I know all of you.
And that's She-Ra, I'm pretty sure. You saw Battle-Cat. So, if you don't remember the 90s Masters of the Universe, it didn't look like any of this. There was no, it was like, hang on, I gotta blow my nose real quick. Like, Castle Grayskull, it feels like somebody took a script for Flash Gordon and then turned it into Masters of the Universe. But the Castle Grayskull was like in space, and it wasn't in space. They had like a spaceship. I don't know. I don't remember. It was all this like weird space-based stuff. It wasn't like, it was all like there's spirit and like ether and stuff. It has nothing to do. Lady, I'm just trying to get you in a safe place so I don't roll over you. I don't want to roll over you with my chair. She's gets down into the wheels of my chair, and I'm like, I don't want to roll over you. You gotta stay out of there. But so the Adam of Eternia is essentially just coming home, but he's been gone for however many years.
Even though I was
Of course, featuring Battle-Cat in any way, shape, or form is amazing.
stuck light years away on Earth, I never stopped trying to get back home.
So in the show, and as far as I'm aware, in canon, they never like say like, oh, I wish we could get back to Earth. Like for the duration of, I think most of it, they don't really know about Earth. But in the canon, like in the extended stories, like comics and books and things like that have come out, like they're well aware of it. Like they know that Earth exists, and that's, I think, a carryover from the story of the 90s version of the Masters of the Universe. I think that whoever was in charge of writing the stories after that was like, that's actually a really good story element. Like it's actually not an ancient fantastical land. It actually is just a different dimension, and all we got to do is cross portals. Like I don't know if it was always that way or if that's like a new development, but all right, Helmet, have a good one, man.
Everything changed since you left.
It's all gone.
Skeletor took my family. And he
So the reason why Skeletor is so powerful in this particular universe is because he has all the technology. Like, he was able to scrape together all the relevant technology from like previous civilizations or whatever, or at least the astronauts from Earth. But so he was able to take all that advanced technology and use it to subjugate all these people, these civilizations, like disparate tribes that cropped up from the founding of Eternia. And he was able to put them all together collectively under his banner, and that's why he's able to take Castle Grayskull. That's why he has these spaceships. You know, like he's essentially a Yautja. He's the Yautja race.
destroyed our world.
Evelyn! She looks so cool! Look at her! Ah, that's so cool. And isn't that, that's someone cool. That's someone who you never would have thought would be Evelyn. Evelyn, it's Alison Brie, yeah. So I think it's, where is she from? Community? She's married to Dave Franco, did you know that? I didn't know that. Yeah, she was the female lead in Community. So, the fact that she's playing Evelyn is very, very cool. I think she's gonna do a great job. It's so cool.
It's all my fault. I know how it feels to fail.
And they gave them all like animation series accurate costumes, which is insanely cool. Like that, they're going to great lengths to keep the fidelity of the original, like the cartoon, intact, which is super fucking like so cool. All we can hope for is the anime style battles that there weren't really anime style, but if there are anime style battles, then that would be really cool for such an awesome like action movie. Let's keep watching the trailer. Maybe there'll be some clips of one. Who knows?
Take the sword. And when you fall,
that was the guy who was he was just a regular dude with like a blade on his ear in the original. he didn't morph his hand into anything, but that was part of his gimmick, right? Like the guy that changes faces, that's his gimmick. Doesn't He-Man have a weird cat raccoon friend? No, it's just a cat. Battle Cat. Who can like shift his shape in the cartoon, but I don't think he's gonna do that in this. He's just Battle Cat. But he's not like a raccoon or anything. Oh, I think you're talking about Thundercats. Because that's Snarf is the character in Thundercats. That's almost like a raccoon cat thing. Snarf! Remember?
that's your chance to stand tall.
He's gonna do it! He's gonna do it! He's gonna do it! He's doing it! He's doing it! He's got the power! He's got the power!
The universe shall quake in my shadow.
Sorry, I was trying to... young lady, my dog. Not being very polite. I was waiting for the moment that Skeletor talked, okay? I was specifically looking for that. How dare you? And who's the robot? I mean, does that not just look the fucking coolest? Ah, it's so good! It's so good! Can you fucking believe it? Like, it really just looks like a movie poster. And like, it's just so cool. It's just so cool. He does have the power.
The universe shall quake in my shadow.
So from what I understand, and correct me if this is wrong, but I think Jared Leto was supposed to be playing Skeletor. Is that still a thing? Let me see. It is Jared Leto. So Frank Langella, was an amazing Skeletor. Amazing Skeletor. So good. And I would say it's going to be on nearly impossible to top that performance. But I think he's actually taking a lot from that performance. So, I mean, just listen to his speech here, like when he... Hang on. Sorry, I clicked off. Listen to his speech
The
here.
universe shall quake in my shadow.
Shall quake in my shadow. Now, let's see if we can find Frank Langella's Skeletor in a clip here. I've already typed it in. Yes, you can see I've already typed it in. $1987. Fuck.
People of Eternia, I
Hear that?
stand before the great eye of the galaxy.
But that's not how Skeletor sounds. At least not in the cartoon.
Then you could be a whip villain. It's the sorceress, you boob.
See what I'm saying? So it's clear that they're trying to... that Jared Leto is trying to emulate Frank Langella's performance as Skeletor, which is really cool. Really, really cool. Because he was the best one. This... And he prays! You know that? Like, I'll get you next time, He-Man. Just you wait for my superior skeletal powers to manifest. I say no. I say no. No, no. No good. No good. This is the good one. This is not the good one. This is the good one.
This is my home. I'm gonna fight for it. But I can't do it without you.
Somebody wants to brawl.
I need every
Yes.
woman or whatever that is.
You may notice that there's a bunch of wacky characters. Bunch of weird-looking fishmen and humanoid creatures. It really is just because they had, like, Mattel wanted to release so many toys, or they wanted to release toys, not so many, but they wanted to keep releasing toys, and so they kept coming out with new variants of different things. Like here's a guy that can rotate his head. Here's a guy that can rotate his arm. Here's a guy that can rotate his leg. Here's a guy that can rotate his weapon. Here's a guy that can rotate his, I don't know, like just whatever, his lower half. Because there's a guy that has a tank body. You get what I'm saying? Like, yes, I know. He has an upper human half and a tank body. It's a thing. The point being that anything's up for grabs in the realm of Eternia. We can just slap things together. We can make a man a bird. We can make a bird a man. We can make a beast a man. We can make there is a beast man. We can make a beast a man. We can make a man a beast. We can make we can do pretty much whatever we need to, okay? It's Eternia. You do whatever you want. Battle Cat! Yes! God damn it, yes! Change that title again, maybe just to see, you know? I'm still so incensed that we had so many viewers in the first, 5 minutes of the stream. And it's because the stream was, hiccuping or whatever. So upset about that still. Oh my gosh.
You may have the power, but you're too scared to use it.
This is so cool. He's just he has a face for a skull. It's Skeletor. He doesn't just you don't just take off your face and you're a person beneath. You have a skull for a face, and so you have to be able to express with it, you know. And he does. He's able to express with it.
Scared to use it.
So you can even see the slight movements in his like eyebrows, I guess.
Trust me, I know how to use it.
Yes, you do. And then it turns into like a video game battle scene, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a video game battle. I wanted to see an anime battle.
You tell everyone that you're from another planet. It just makes you sound a little very crazy.
That's He-Man. That is He-Man. That is fucking He-Man. Alright? That is fucking He-Man. Okay? That is like, don't you fucking... That's He-Man. That's motherfucking He-Man. Alright? That's He-Man. That's He-Man. Need I say more? I don't think I do. Alright, now we're going to watch or we're not going to watch, but we're going to review the next Daredevil episodes. Now, did I miss a week? Or did they just release 2 episodes? You know, like it's episode 2 and 3 are both out now. So, I don't know, I guess it just they wanted to get the episodes out there, you know? Sometimes you want to get the episodes out there. So, season 2, episode 2. Come on now. I was able to kind of take a look at my the copyright strike thing, and I wasn't being struck for putting like still pictures on. So we'll do that. I definitely won't be like playing many clips or anything like that, but just to have something in the background, you know. So it almost feels like this is kind of hints of the Muse storyline when we're looking at sort of this montage of artwork. I don't know if it's meant to be that. It's clearly probably, I think it's just supposed to be just telling what's happening at the time. Muse is dead until the therapist becomes Muse again. So I think we're only going to see stuff related to Muse when it comes to her. But I don't know. Maybe this is just indicating like that the resistance is strong, you know, and that they're doing what they need to be doing. I don't know. But so, you know, obviously when we left off in the last episode, the guy's name who's Cherry, which is that Cherry, just in terms of like, I don't know, police, but in terms of like policemen and agencies, emergency service agencies and things like law enforcement, things like that, the word Cherry refers to like someone who plays by the book, someone who's like annoyingly plays by the book. So if you were to say like they would pull someone over for speeding, you know, even though like a lot of cops don't enforce speeding, that would be a cherry or a red ass. And typically when you call someone a cherry, it's an insult. You're calling them a good boy scout who plays by the rules. But in this, that's his sort of name or nickname or something, which feels insulting, but whatever. You know, maybe that's just for a different reason. Maybe he loves cherry pie. I don't know. So we get, obviously, one of the many sort of Frank Miller Batman type looking over the scene from a distance, keeping himself distant, keeping himself away from, one could say, psychological accountability. But the thing with Matt is that his faith is really what drives his sense of shame and guilt over the things that he has to do in order to bring his city back from the brink. They didn't really. I think Disney's pretty like anti-saying religious stuff like right out front and center, but it's hard for them to do something like that because Daredevil is religious. There's a lot of religious overtones and iconography in a lot of that born again storyline stuff. I think that if they felt that it was necessary for the telling the story, they would probably lean into the religious tones a bit, but thus far they have not yet in season 2 of Born Again. And I think because Father Maxey, I think was his name, the guy that he was confiding in his Netflix series was killed in season 3, I believe, by Bullseye. You know, he doesn't really have that sort of like clergy figure, and in the Defenders, his mom like is gone or whatever. Like, there's a whole mess happening with that church angle, and I think they wanted to kind of like keep this simple and really keep it focused on Daredevil and Kingpin. So it's really just the stuff that's surrounding them that they want to kind of keep paying attention to, which I think is really the only reason why they haven't incorporated much of his actual faith into this retelling. And I think that the Bullseye helping him out angle is more of just Bullseye being self-serving, because in some capacity, I think later on in the show, in this particular episode, they talk about how Bullseye killing those cops is good for Fisk because then he gets to pin those deaths on Murdoch on Daredevil as more fuel for the anti-vigilante fire. If I may interject just a little bit of a criticism here, I think that the way that they're handling these sort of moments of trying to make the world around them sound scary, I think they're handling them a little like Disney rather than like Marvel would, which is fine. This show is meant to be for like young adults to, you know, up to people in my age. So I get it. Like, some of the themes are going to be really surface level. Some of them are going to seem kind of pedestrian, a little formulaic. It's fine. It's just that maybe I liked the Frank Miller stuff. I liked the Punisher stuff. Season 2 was like peak Daredevil in my opinion, but season 1, really, the first few episodes, if you imagine, like, when you're seeing a battle and Daredevil, a normal guy who happens to be good at fighting, not super soldier or anything like that, he goes up and he like snaps a dude's arm in half, like in a kind of cartoonish way, like he just snaps it in half. It's a lot more unbelievable than in the Netflix series when he like stomps a dude's calf or something, and like his bone comes out through his shin. Like, that's a lot more believable. No, I think what it is, he does the same thing. He does like an arm bar sort of thing, and then like breaks the guy's arm, but the bone just kind of comes through the skin. It's not, the thing doesn't just snap in half. That makes it almost cartoonish, which, again, totally fine if that's just the way that you want to tell it, but I liked that sort of visceral realness in the Netflix show. I liked going like, oh God, you know, like, which they do that, they go for that moment in more of the retelling of like real social issues of this series, but they don't do that so much in the comic bookness of it all. Someone talking shit to Wilson Fisk about his fist fighting. Excuse me. I gotta blow my nose again. This is all just allergies / sinuses again. Unfortunately. Guys, stop. Get out of here. Come on. Respect me. my gosh. You hear that whistle? That nasal whistle? But that will never not be funny. He basically says, like, what are you, I thought you weren't going to be a wimp or something. Sorry. God damn it, dude.
Daredevil got away. Apparently, someone is helping him. Someone with very good aim. Poindexter.
You giving up?
Yeah, he says, you giving up? Not like you, man. And he says it all, like, super casually.
Not like you, man. Not like you at all. I thought
Probably not the best thing to say when you're facing down a dude who, like, ripped a car door off with his hand. Stop, please. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, but you guys cannot be under here. That's very unsafe.
you were tough.
And then he just basically almost punches him through the wall. He lays him out so badly. So yeah, they go over like why, you know, Bullseye being frivolous with his killing, because he's just kind of off on his own now. I think he escaped after his attempt on Fisk's life, and then just he's in the wind, which is great, you know, super great to have Bullseye just kind of out there, just doing stuff. Super great, super cool. We all love that. Hello?
Those task force psychos put a bullet in his head.
Karen, that's not helpful.
I imagine you feel.
The task force should.
Oh, what? It's not letting me use my keyboard commands? There we go. Nope.
Suspect, hands up!
Come on. So, I think that's kind of... fuck, man. I think it's really clever how they kind of took this... They did this, like, vigilante hunt, and they kind of reversed it into trying to find a missing person, which is super, super, super clever. I didn't think that anyone... fuck, man. I didn't think they were going to do something like that. That was kind of a clever move, and it's really not something that you see a lot in modern day live action from the Kingpin, from Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, at least since the Netflix series. The Netflix series is really the one that really, like, solidified his criminal genius. And the way that he stayed off the radar for so long, and the way that he made all the things move, like, behind the scenes, that was all so indicative of how powerful he really is and how much influence he really has. It goes far beyond money, it goes far beyond principle. He was able to tie together like 4 or 5 different groups of groups of people that do not like each other. And he was able to do that again with the mob families in, I believe, Born Again. Like maybe his wife was like taking place or something like that. Like no, I think it was season 3. Whatever was happening, something was happening, like where he took out the old bosses of the mob, and then I think that was Bullseye, season 3 maybe. Anyway, the point is, this is kind of a harken back to the old days, a harken back to the Netflix series, where he was doing like things that are that make you go like, oh wow, I never would have thought of that behind the scenes. But we didn't see that in season 1 of Born Again a lot. We just saw him kind of almost becoming a milk toast version of himself because of, if you don't remember, in the end of the Echo series, she basically healed the damaged part of his brain so that he actually has empathy now. And I think he's trying to balance that with still being the kingpin of crime, which is an interesting dynamic. But nobody liked the Echo series, and you kind of have to have watched it for this context. So it's almost coming out of nowhere. It's almost like, why does he feel so bad about the Matthew Lillard character? Why does he feel so bad about him saying to kill his men? Like, that's something that Kingpin would have done anyway. You know, like, he never thought twice about killing, and he just killed, I think, the chief of police or something, the district attorney, someone. He just killed him, like, just smashed his head, and like, that, I guess, is still okay. Like, did he for some reason, like, he wasn't happy that he had to do it, or what? Like, and even then, like, he kidnapped Vanessa's lover, and then, like, just kept him captive while he ate dinner, like fancy dinners, listening to him pleading to be let free. So the sociopath is still there, you know, but like, there's a little bit of a pushback when he hears that all his men are gonna die. Like, what is that to me is more of a Disney version of this guy. It's more of a surface level version, more simplified. It's definitely not complex or nuanced, which is, again, that's fine because it fits the demographic of the people that are watching this. But that is a minus for the things that I enjoyed from the Netflix series. It was more visceral and gritty, and there was a lot more espionage, a lot more things moving behind the scenes. And I really enjoyed that. I think that it was a really cool, like, I don't know, it was a cool, like, immersive, it made you feel like you were part of this world, like you were really on the streets of New York kind of thing. Sorry, I do that by reflex because I start and stop YouTube videos, but we're not actually watching through this. So what I think is, what I've noticed from Born Again Season 1 is that this guy, hang on, let me give each other a better shot of him. Come on, give me your best face here. No? We'll find it. We'll find it. So this guy, if you are not familiar with the Marvel Comics, Kingpin has both a wife and a son. And his son, in the previous, like, let's say in the Claremont era, his son was actually, like, would grow up and become an adult and would end up, like, becoming also sort of a kingpin of crime, but sort of in his own respect. I think maybe he was facing, like, the West Coast Avengers. He was kind of an offshoot. He wasn't, maybe he was more of an X-Men villain. I don't know. But his son, I think his son's name was Richard. Dickie Fisk. But this seems to be the guy that's being set up to be the MCU analog of Fisk's son. They mentioned 2 times in this episode that he's essentially going to be an heir. Like, he's Vanessa says, like, you have an heir, you know, and then someone says something about heir apparent to that guy, the guy who's like his the therapist. The therapist, I think in the next episode, says something like, the heir apparent, like it's Cashman. He takes a look at this guy, and he says, "This the heir apparent," when he's talking about Royal Court, and you know, it's like a tongue in cheek, like he's the kingpin, that's why he's like the king. But like when he says heir apparent, that means he understands that this guy's being groomed to be the next, like, whoever. If Kingpin should die, then he's going to be his heir, which is. It was a little confusing in the first season because it just seemed like this character was being thrown in who could be an analog for like a younger Kingpin, even. Like, he's charismatic, he's from the streets, you know, he's friends with BB, he likes BB, and BB doesn't happen to like him back. But like they really seem to be setting him up as like almost a son figure to him, because he idolizes him. He idolizes Kingpin. He wants to be, you know, in his inner circle, and he even takes the position of deputy mayor. So, you know, clearly he's like a parallel to Kingpin's son. And I don't know if that means that they're setting him up to take the fall, because they keep mentioning that as well, or if they're setting him up to potentially take over, like once Vincent D'Onofrio's like, I'm totally done with this now. I doubt it. I mean, I don't think that Charlie Cox would keep doing this if Vincent D'Onofrio was not a part of it anymore, unless the story dictated that. If the story was good and it brought you to that point, then I think that it would be understood by all the cast members. It's just what's going to happen now. So they keep building this tension surrounding him to make you think that maybe he's on the chopping block, but I don't think that's ever really going to happen. I don't think that he's going to be at risk at all, mostly because we've seen numerous times now where Kingpin has had to basically interrogate him, and he comes out looking okay. He comes out retaining his position. Even, it seems like they kind of know that it's probably BB. How would they not know that it's BB at this point who's leaking information? How would they not know? Like, that would be insane to me if they just didn't have any clue whatsoever. But so I'm convinced that they know it's BB, and they're just like, maybe they're hoping that he'll take care of it. And when they're like telling him that we need to take care of it, they're being serious. They're like, you need to take care of it. And he even says to BB later on, like, if you're leaking things, you need to stop. He's still got empathy. He's still got humanity. He's still got the kid from the streets left in him. But each position they keep moving him forward towards being Kingpin's heir is a step further into corruption that he's taking. Yeah. So we're watching in real time the creation of new villains, which I think is sort of the point behind Born Again in the first place. I think Born Again doesn't just talk about Daredevil being born again. I think it talks about the whole Daredevil universe being born again. Obviously, it's a nod to the Netflix series saying that, hey, baby, we're back. So again with Karen Page, I think it's like, I don't know. I kind of hate it. I kind of hate the. First of all, well, okay, so we'll go sequentially. I fucking hate that this guy is still around, and it's not because of any particular reason, like of nothing that he's like doing, or nothing that his character's fine. I don't like that we have to feel like this remnant of the Netflix series is a necessary addition to this portion of the Born Again series. I don't think it's really necessary. This was the guy who was it his partner, or was it his it wasn't his partner. Someone got arrested or killed or something, and so he has this grudge against vigilantes like Daredevil now, and so he's like super, and I think he's also kind of racist and sexist, and he's just like not a good guy. One could argue he's perfect for Fisk's task force. And I mean, obviously we know that the director, or that the showrunner said that there were going to be some parallels between these characters and people like Trump and ICE, and those are all very clear to see. I mean, you know, obviously Kingpin's supposed to represent Trump in this scenario. The guy, the deputy mayor, I think is supposed to represent Vance, and the AVTF is supposed to represent ICE. It's very clear. I mean, we see a lot of parallels to that. Perhaps, again, the reason why they had to release 2 episodes is because they bloated like these scripts out with like modern, like current events references, and didn't want to take them out, so they had to make more episodes. That's my guess, but that's a stab in the dark. I don't know for sure. But I don't he feels like an unnecessary holdover. And this goes, like, this is, I think, another parallel with what's supposed to be like the visible parallels to real life that the showrunners were talking about. I think this is kind of indicating how far people have fallen into the deception and corruption that is, like, they're being propagandized, like the vigilantes are being propagandized against, just like, you know, Mexicans. The corruption runs so deep that it's like these guys, they're essentially brainwashed into thinking that this is the right way to do things. But also, this guy got injured. He was lit on fire. And now, like, he's so dedicated. Like, now he's even more angry at the vigilantes, but now he's much more dedicated. Now he's more zealous. So it goes to show, like, that extremism is a domestic thing, and it is brought on by violence. It's a perpetual cycle. And you see, like, just the little bit of humanity in this guy. It clearly, it didn't last. And there was a lot more the first time you see him. And then he, like, you know, his partner dies, or his partner, whatever happens, something happens, and it's just he's just like done with the tolerance at that point. Kind of filler. I mean, I don't like this whole thing of trying to put, like, the whole resist campaign as part of, like, this whole, like, back and forth between the AVTF and cops. Like, it's a little cartoony, and I think, if anything, it kind of diminishes the message that it sends when people say it in real life. It's more like, yeah, you saw Daredevil too, you know, like, I don't know. It could harm the message, but that's just, it's, if I'm being pedantic, if I'm really, like, just obsessing over some detail that doesn't matter, then, you know, it could be that as well. But it feels so cheesy. It feels like procedural, like, weird, you know, cop drama sort of stuff, where it's like, oh, you got your corrupt cops, and you got your Boy Scouts, you know, you're a loose cannon, that kind of stuff. But I mean, they are essentially going there to either torture or kill him. So it canonically, it makes sense that you would have as many friends as possible there. And the AVTF is like, all right, fine, we'll go get backup. And they're like, okay, go ahead, we'll do it too. You see how many people who are out here who, like, you know, don't like you? See how many people there are? There's a lot of us. And then, of course, Bullseye does his work. I don't think that Bullseye should be using or have any kind of guns, because this is a bit of a very minor gripe. This is a petty gripe. Bullseye in the comics uses a mixture of different weapons. He uses just anything that is nearby, which I thought was really cool that they incorporated. Normally, I mean, he's got his weapons, he's got his knives, but, like, he just uses normal, like, he uses paper clips, he uses pieces of he uses, like, a guitar pick, he uses a tooth, he uses needles, he uses just everyday average items, because that's how good he just flicks this shit through people's faces. Like, he's a mercenary, but he's a psychopath. He doesn't care about the consequences of anything. He doesn't care about going full send into things. He just dives in and just does. You know, like, he's calculating, but more in the sinister in the way that he like goes and tortures families to get himself into the headspace of the guy he's ultimately trying to kill. Like, it's not a I think he was tasked with killing the Punisher at some point, and so he like goes and abducts a family and like kills the father figure, and then places himself as the father figure, exactly how Punisher was, and then kills the family in the same sort of fashion that Punisher's family was killed. And so that's so he can relive the moments and understand what that trauma would be like. It's not really, he's just killing people, but he's trying to put himself in the mind space of Frank Castle. And so he goes and just murders people while he's doing that. And that's just, he sees that as his process. So this is not like, this is definitely a more down-to-earth Bullseye, the more like how he would probably be in real life if Bullseye existed. But I think that was sort of, that was both the thing that people liked and disliked about the Daredevil show on Netflix, was the fact that they weren't able to make superhero stuff happen. But now they have that budget, and now they have that capacity, while still trying to keep it dialed back for the audiences that liked the Netflix, the down-to-earth and the grittiness of the actual like inability that they had to show hero stuff. Indicated obviously by the fact that they weren't willing to let Daredevil swing around New York on his punji sticks, or whatever those are called. No, the punji sticks are the ones that stab you when you're in a pit. I don't know what those Kali sticks. Anywho, he flies around on them. Like he like swings around like Spider-Man in the comics and in animation stuff. So you saw it a couple times in I think the beginnings and ends of some of the seasons, like both here and in the Netflix show. But it's rare that you see it frequently. And so I think, I don't know, I feel like there was every potential to go above and beyond and just go crazy with it and just have him swinging from rooftop to rooftop, or keep it grounded. And they chose to keep it grounded, and that's fine. But Bullseye, I just don't feel like should be using like combat knives and guns and sniper rifles. I think that he should be making it ridiculous, making it like it's supposed to be absurd. Like that's the part that's so horrifying about it, is that he can literally just take a paperclip and send it straight through your brain. Like that, he has no qualms about it. He can do it. That's his special power. Yeah, it would be really cool if that was how they chose to have him. But his suit is pretty cool. They definitely tried to make it seem very comic accurate while keeping it realistic, including the Bullseye symbol on his ski mask. I don't like the ski mask. I don't like that it's covering up his face. Like because one of the cool things, or fun, not cool things, but one of the like more ridiculous aspects of Bullseye is that his entire face is visible, but like he has like a bodysuit on. It's like you really don't care if you're seen or recognized, do you? Nope, because people will just end up dead. So this is, again, yet another interrogation scene where you think that the Kingpin is about to kill his supposed heir, but yet again he gives him a chance, and he says all the right things during this questioning. So is it a cat and mouse game, or is it really just Kingpin working his magic on this guy? Is it him just grooming this guy to become the next big thing, the next Kingpin, the next crime lord of New York? Could it be because he wants to leave the life, or could it be because the introduction of empathy into his brain has now made him want to pass on his legacy? It could be either, but I doubt it's going to be anything good, because Kingpin's a bad guy. So this stuff that's going on with Vanessa is very confusing to me. I don't know why she's being given these storylines. She's a very minor character in the comics. it's okay if they're trying to make her into something, but let's hurry up with it. You know, like let's just establish that you're trying to make her like achieve something, because what it is like she feels like she's losing Wilson, right? She feels like he's becoming too human. He's becoming too much of a good guy, or too little of a bad guy, or whatever the case may be. He actually wants to save New York, and she believes that he's serious. He believes that he's serious, and it might be because he's gotten this new sense of morality, or it could just be because he's got other things going on. I think we've seen that he's capable of lying to even us, the viewer, about the things that he's able to do, right? He had her lover in custody before she ever admitted that she had cheated on him. And then he only brought her in on the thing when she admitted that she cheated on him. Like, he was happy to just let that languish and just let him die in that cell. I don't know if that's how he would have done it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, she's here learning, I guess, how to hold a gun or use a gun or something, like buying a gun or borrowing a gun. And then, later on you see her just like laying on the ground and she's dreaming about Bullseye. Like, in the third season of the Netflix Daredevil, she had more of like a motherly mentorship angle when it came to him, rather than almost a pseudo fantastical romantic, but like she knows he wants to kill her kind of thing. Like she finds that exciting, because the thing that she found exciting about Wilson in the first place was his willingness to like do whatever was necessary, which means killing people like en masse, and she kind of like, maybe she likes that, or I don't know. But it seems like she's becoming more distant, and she's kind of trying to go and do things behind the scenes herself, which it's cool, it's fine. But again, I think people originally were criticizing shows that went into like 20 episodes or 18 episodes or whatever. They were criticizing that because the shows had too many filler episodes. And it's because there were so many B and C and D plot storylines where like there was no point to any of that stuff. It never culminated in anything big. Do you have, what's that fuzz? Fuzz in your mouth? Yep, you were eating fuzz. You gotta stay away from the fuzz. But yeah, so they're giving her these storylines that just seem unnecessary. Like, just have her be attacked by Bullseye. You know, just do that. It's fine. It's not a big deal, but it is a bit of a criticism. And why are they so like? Why are they so specially laid out? Like, is this a ritual thing? Is this a ceremonial thing? I don't understand that. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, but this is making very little sense to me. Why they're putting so much attention on specifically this storyline with Vanessa. I hope it makes sense soon, because there's every chance. And don't think that I'm misogynistic or anything. Like, I really am not coming from a misogynist place, or a place of misogyny, or any kind of diminishing of any group of people here. But it seems like they're building a team of female villains, right? So you've got DeFontaine, who's ipso facto a villain. You have the woman in the Brand New Day, who might be Hikari, I think is her name. But she's like the leader of the Hand. It looks like she's the leader of the Hand. At least she's the one leading the charge when you see the scene with Spider-Man like jumping towards the group of hand people. But so that's a lady. And then you've got potentially an anti-hero version of like Jean Grey or whoever Sadie Sink is playing, which she may not end up being a villain, but whatever. But then you've got oh God, who else? What's her face? The therapist, who is slowly turning into what appears to be the next incarnation of Muse. So you've got quite a few, already like female villains that they're introducing, and like it could either be as corny and cheesy as they did that thing in both Endgame and Infinity War, where they did like that little MCU thing where, and I think normal people, you know, not just anti-feminists, not just like assholes and incels, normal people thought that was weird. It is a little pandery. It is a little bit like, I mean, obviously, I'll be the first to say it's about time to things like that, but I'm also saying, like, all right, you've passed it off to specifically another woman. Like, there's all kinds of heroes. Like, we could just be passing the glove off to everybody, but instead we're doing this, like, it goes from Valkyrie to Rescue to you know, whoever else, and it's like, it's cool, but it's, you could do that over a more extended period of time, or just include people in a better way. That isn't like, that doesn't just trigger the incels, that isn't just like showing the incels that what they're thinking is correct, you know, because obviously they're going to reinforce their own biases through whatever means. But if you have like a movie poster scene with just all women, where it's like a cinematic shot and it's like we do this because the boys already got theirs, you know? It feels shallow. It doesn't feel well written. It doesn't feel like well implemented into the work itself. It just feels like doing something for something's sake. And again, I'll be the first to say it's about time when something like that, when inclusion truly happens. But I don't feel like that. I don't think that's happening in those scenes. I think it's really just, you know, Bob Iger going like, oh, we gotta please both sides, you know. Again, not a bad thing, but doesn't make for good storytelling. So the thing I was gonna say earlier, the whole deal with Karen being this like multi-hyphenate, like she's a secret agent, she's a secretary, she's a lawyer, she's a customer service agent, she's a reporter, she writes blogs, she coordinates an entire underground resistance, and she's juggling a vigilante boyfriend all at the same time. I feel like she was way mishandled in this. I think that people were like, what the fuck are we gonna do with Karen Page? Do you know that the major storyline with Karen Page is that she becomes a porn star? So it's like, you kind of have to write a new storyline if you're gonna put her on a fucking Disney thing, like, because she becomes a sex worker and a porn star in Mexico. Like, how the fuck? And she's like addicted to drugs and alcohol. Like, how are you gonna make that work? I had an idea for how to make that work. God damn it, Kevin Feige. I had an idea, and it was going to be really good. Sadly, I did not go to the right colleges, was not born in the right area to the right people, and so I would never, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get a script in front of anyone involved with Marvel. But I had a pretty good idea for how it could have shook out. I had a really good series progression. So the first few episodes were basically going to be reintroducing the characters, and let me see if I can find it, because that would make it a lot easier to just talk about. All right, so my episodes would have been called, here's the episode names in sequence. All right. Episode 1, Matthew. Episode 2, Blind Spot. Episode 3, Karen. Episode 4, Foggy. Episode 5, Sam. Episode 6, Frank. Episode 7, Muse. Episode 8, Muse Part 2. Episode 9, Wilson. Episode 10, Wesley. Episode 11, The Punisher. Episode 12, Lester. Episode 13, The Kingpin. Episode 14, Bullseye. Episode 15, The Defenders. Episode 16, Daredevil. Even just hearing those episode names makes me really excited for how I wish I could have had my my fan season. Maybe one day, you know, maybe they'll give me my own comic book run, you know. See, this is a little bit of advice to anybody who is a creator, anybody who's working on a creative work or trying to get a creative work made. Shoot for the stars. If you shoot for the stars, you can be happy where you land because it'll be at a much further place than where you were. If you shoot for just one step above yourself, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure because you're going to not feel fulfilled by the place that you end up, because it's only going to be a short jump from where you were before. It's not about consistent work when it comes to something like that. It's about doing the right work, finding the right area of expertise that you can specialize in. But it's all about that. So episode 1, let's say we'll just say it. It's never going to get made, so I don't care if somebody steals it. In a tense opening to Daredevil season 4, we can do this. We can just put it right here on the screen. There you go. That's what I am currently reading. So you can follow along if you'd like. In a tense opening to Daredevil Season 4, we open on a brutal battle already taking place between Daredevil and Wilson Fisk. It's action-packed, featuring cameos from the other Defenders and known villains like Nobu and Poindexter. We hear a crack of thunder and everyone stops. Matt can sense something happening. Thousands, millions of screams, all ending abruptly. This also messes up Matt's extra powerful senses. Suddenly, several members of the scene start to dust away, revealing that this is the moment of the snap. Over the season, there will be several flashbacks that reference the events over the last 5 years, but for now they remain a mystery. Current day, Matt is seen giving a confession as in Season 1. A new villain is cutting a path through Hell's Kitchen, leaving buckets of blood and a sick calling card, painting elaborate murals from the entrails of his victims, mixed with paints that are both evil and beautiful. Matt is rehashing his experience from the Netflix series, reflecting on his heroic deeds, that of his dad, while asking how far he'll have to go this time. Obviously. The scene panning out reveals he's in a simple cell, talking to nobody, confessing to no one. Guards enter the block and attempt to convince him to leave, that the big guy wants to see him. He refuses, and they attempt to take him by force, him failing to beat down the guards. He's weak, he's not a shell of his former self at this point. And becoming exhausted almost immediately after being struck, showing how weak he's become. He's brought to Fisk's office, apparently at the penthouse level of the building he's already inside of. Fisk asks if anyone saw him, and a janitor happened to see them moving from elevator to elevator, and Fisk says handle it. The next question being his family, with Fisk considering it, then looking at Matt's desperate eyes, spares them and tells the guard to arrange a compensation and relocation package for them to compensate for their loss. Matt crying out and collapsing on the floor, clearly defeated. Fisk tells him to be happy he stood there, or happy he stopped there. It's further established that in the chaos of the snap, Daredevil is able to be convinced that both Foggy and Karen were dusted, and in the ensuing commotion, Fisk and Matt save many lives and help a bunch of people, making them the heroes of Hell's Kitchen. Fisk plays on Matt's losses and in the Defenders and his friends, convincing him that there is nobody left, and since the cosmic stuff is making his senses wonky, he has no way of knowing for sure. Yep. As Matt is being confronted by Fisk, it's clear something is happening. Something evil is happening. Over the next few years, Matt becomes Fisk's new Wesley, almost sympathizing with him and diving deep into alcohol dependence with a side of casual drug use. Over time, Fisk not only made him his lawyer, but also manipulated him to eliminate his competition as Daredevil, feeding him false information and providing support through a special agent assigned to keep Matt under Fisk's spell. We only see this man on the edges of the screen, his identity to be revealed later. I think that would have been pretty good for an opening episode for a season 4. But, we didn't get a season 4. Obviously. Which is totally fine. But that was my version, or that would have been my version of a season 4 opener. I can talk about episode 2, which is Blind Spot, if you'd like. If you don't want me to give a breakdown of my version of episode 2 for Daredevil season 4, then say no in the chat. I'll give it 30 seconds. I know that I'm gonna do it because there's nobody in the chat, or there's barely anybody in the chat right now. I'm assuming Skippy's probably the only one in here. Alright, I'm reading it. You can't stop me. All right, my episode 2, Blind Spot. A young man, Sam Chung, is taking part in a multidiscipline competition. He's brilliant. His mind works differently from others, and that his skill comes from his ability to analyze optimal ways to execute moves. It has served him his entire life, using his higher-than-normal perception to know the right people to talk to, the right people to engage with, and the right places to research exercises for developing the best muscles to spin in a certain way, as an example. He is voracious in his thirst for knowledge and desire to improve just a little bit every single day to set the example for the rest of the world for what physical perfection, or for what a perfect physical specimen can be. He has been observed by scouts, given special training because of his aptitude for learning, spent time with experts in gym, contact sports, martial arts, etc. His final routine is peppered with this exposition while he makes the moves shown during the montage. He completes his routines and scans the crowd dismissively, his thoughts and attention gathered up in the riotous uproar of his fans and friends. The crowd of Midtown High. Anyone know what Midtown High is? Midtown High. Parents and teachers the crowd at Midtown High. Parents and teachers all gathered for this year's Student Olympics. Could include an offhand of the yearbook staff and the names of Peter, MJ, or Ned as a fun reference. As the medals are given out, the gold going to Sam, the camera getting very close to his face, smash cut to his expression changing to terrified as the camera pans backward to reveal Sam hanging upside down while a dismembered voice speaks beautifully about his intelligence, his potential, and about how he never stopped to put things into perspective, and about how that's the reason why he's going to be the very first subject. A man steps out of the shadows, playfully wagging a gleaming and clearly over-sharpened palette knife at Sam. He dances silently. Only Sam's breathing and panic can be heard. It dims slightly as the killer's breath fills the environment. It's steady, breathing in and out with his movements in rhythmic grace. On flourish, at the climax of his movements, he sinks the pallet's knife into Sam's lower back, puncturing his kidney. He plays with the ropes he has Sam tied up with. They're all blood red, silk, and he mentions offhandedly that he got them on sale at a sex shop surplus, if you can believe that, and appends with the specific mention that nothing untoward will happen with Sam. I'm not that kind of psychopath, and gives a short quip about almost wanting to keep him alive just to see how he adjusts. Sam is in the middle of asking, adjust to what, when Muse plunges his thumbs into his eyes, completely gouging them out. Sam is screaming with everything he has while Muse is experiencing pure euphoria, watching the streams of blood starting to escape. He falls to his knees and starts working on what ends up being a grotesque work with what he considers art. The view around him distorting, showing misty red tendrils creeping up through the air and into his arms, suffusing him with red energy, flowing up into his eyes, and they start to glow red. We won't know for a while, but his powers include some mild reality warping, creating distortions of non-living things within a local area. This allows him to detect any sense-based sensation and change it slightly to fit his twisted artistic vision. These were Muse's powers in the comic. The side effect of this power gives him preternatural strength and durability. As he steps away, he observes Sam hanging helplessly, draped and splayed with the silk ropes in an angelic pose over a canvas painted initially with Sam's face, with the blood dripping down on his own eyes. Something profound is scrawled across the picture along the lines of "what makes you," or something like that, indicating that the goal is to rob Sam of what makes him special, almost his supernatural or superhuman visual ability to analyze. As Muse approaches to finish the job, he dusts, revealing that this is the moment of the snap. Sam is left alone, bleeding, pleading for his life, and it will be several hours until he realizes Muse is gone. And that's just the end of the cold open for the second episode. I'm thinking the episodes for this fan season or whatever would all start out with a cold open that is related to the snap, right? Because we don't know anything that happened in the meantime. And so this would kind of give us a little bit of a thing to go on, you know? Some frame of reference for when all this stuff takes place. Episode 3 is it starts to get... So it's just the first year of Karen's experience. I don't know if I have it fully figured out, and I don't know if I have it... I don't know if it makes sense with any of this stuff, but I guess I'll read it just for shits and giggles because we have it. Hey, hello, how's it going? How you doing? It's only 11 o'clock, you guys. Chill. what you doing? Doing what's in the title of the video. Right now, I'm reading my episode breakdowns for my fan series of what I would have done if I had the chance to rewrite Daredevil. So episode 3 would have started like this. It's only a short blurb, but I figured since we read the other ones, we might as well just read this one. Episode 3 would be entitled Karen. Year 1. Karen is broken after once again being paid off by Fisk's people. Drugged and abandoned south of the border with no passport, she believes that everyone she loved in the Daredevil squad is dead, dusted by the snap, and she sinks into habits and vices that draw her further away from her former self. She is laying low, establishing herself as a fixer, driver, borders of reality legality stuff, on the first-name basis with most of the local petty criminals. All is to say that she's become a very capable fighter/strategist. Her logic is that she wants to get ingratiated with the bad guy so they won't target her, alluding with previous history with criminals and being preyed upon. She stays away from trafficking in drugs, but has developed a heavy drinking habit. She takes a job for a local crime boss, who initially suggests she stay with him or pay with her body, but she threatens to use violence and make the statement that she's not to be messed with. She's broken, but just as physically capable as she's always seemed. He asks her how she learned to fight, and she alludes to Colleen Wing teaching her. There's a ninja in New York who teaches superheroes how to fight. This also ties in with my personal, or not my personal, but my story that I was writing about the sequel to Shang-Chi. That's right, I was writing a sequel to Shang-Chi. I'm writing fan versions of everything, so get at me if you if you want to write something together. So he gives her a job to beat up a local hood who isn't paying respect. Something simple, but it's a setup. She's attacked by a man with a mechanical skull mask and black suit. He tells her to get ready because things are about to get much worse. He asks if she's talked to her brother at all recently, and she lashes out, screaming at the man, never to mention her dead brother. He easily dodges her and says she's in for a surprise. Obviously, it's going to be her brother, and he's back from the dead. She demands to know who the man is and what he wants. He replies that her family took something from him and he wants it back, and he'll reach into hell itself to bring her father to justice for what he did. He had heard about her reputation and subsequent downfall and came to Mexico initially to enlist her help, but says that after learning about her, he's convinced that she's just like her father and instead is there to intimidate and possibly harm her in an attempt to learn the whereabouts of her father's final resting place. She's horrified and confused and asks why, and he replies that he was serious about reaching into hell. He has access to methods that will allow him to, and emphasis on, painfully interrogate those who have passed on. Part of the gift he claims her family stole. She asks what gifts, and he just attacks. She is knocked off her feet and fumbles into her pack for her sidearm. When she brings it up, he's gone. She looks around, freaked out, and hears a whisper saying, "Beware the death's head," and fade out. She's riding in a truck with other refugees across the border. She seems well packed with documents and papers, showing she was able to use whatever means to gain some footing after the attack by the mysterious stranger. She's still wondering why someone would go through so much trouble to get to her but not finish the job, how they would have had the resources, but more still, why her family is his target after so long and why he seems to think her brother is still alive. As she's closing in on the border, she pores over the pile of papers that mention details involving her family, her career, her brother, to indicate she's deep into research on the topic at hand. So it goes through, this whole opening sequence would go through the entire, each year in between the snap and the blip, and when people started coming back. And so this episode, it would only have a very little to do with what's going on currently. It'd be much more of a flashback episode. So yeah, those are my fans episodes, I guess. I think I had a very good idea for the episode 1 opening, but I don't. All that to say that I don't feel like she should have been, forced to take on all these roles in this local environment here where she's really not needed. Like, Daredevil could be doing all this stuff that she's doing. So yeah, I feel like division of labor is kind of messed up here. Give her different things to do, or let her beat people up with you. Like if she's going to be his sidekick, let her be his sidekick. So yeah, this is where she tells him that he has an heir. And I think that he's still consistently surprised that she's able to keep up with what he's doing. but he's also like really good at hiding his movements. Like he's really good at making it seem like he's not up to something when he is. So yeah, I don't know. And then the arms that are coming in, we haven't seen Matthew Lillard's character in an episode, right? So it's, you know, something's going on with him and the whole like the Northern Star thing with all the weapons coming in. Like there's missiles and shit. What could they be preparing for? It's the U.S. government, essentially. It's the CIA. It's DeFontaine. So what are they gearing up for? Like, what is this leading up to? I don't know. Could be something scary. Because we don't know what the new Avengers are up to right now. We don't know what any of the, or I guess the Dark Avengers, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's up. Could be anything. And also, is it just me or did they cast this White Tiger character a little young? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if she can do the White Tiger stuff, then cool. Because the pendant's supposed to grant you like superhuman strength, superhuman agility, all that kind of stuff. Not on the level of like a Captain America. It's more street level. It's not. He ain't gonna be as strong as a super soldier probably. But he's you know he's like a top athlete. You know when he was wearing the pendant. So a top athlete at the peak of physical condition. Which is like essentially Captain America is resting at the peak of physical condition, but he can go even further. You know what I'm saying? Like he's really strong, and White Tiger is slightly less strong than that. Because all the super soldier offshoots, and this is mystical, you know, it's a little different, but all the super soldier offshoots were always slightly weaker in power, right? Or way more mutative. But she's a kid. I hope she can like do some battling. And one thing that I'll say about this exchange here, even though it escalated way too far, this is exactly how like kids and adults in these urban centers interact with each other. It's way less of a "you're stealing, I'm going to call the police and we're going to get you arrested." Instead of something like that, it's much more of a, "Hey, come on, put it back, man. Come on, put it back." And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, I didn't do anything. I didn't take anything. Put it back. Just put it back. Like, just put it back. You know what I mean? And then like the store, like the guy who's operating the store, obviously this is a reflection of modern day. People are getting up in arms. They're getting all triggered by shit. And like he cocks a shotgun. He's like, "Get the hell out of here." But like up until then, it's a very realistic encounter, very realistic. Good kudos on the writers. Like a realistic exchange, real burns, real being tired of these kids. Like it felt real, it felt realistic. And so then obviously we have the reflective of Ice moment. I keep dreading that they're gonna kill an innocent person in the streets in an episode. I hope that doesn't happen, because I feel like it's a pervert. It's not like a perversion. It feels distasteful in terms of like just how things have been going here domestically lately. Like I hope that if they do it, it's done tastefully and it's not done in order to exploit the matter, but to cast a light onto it. So it feels like we're drawing closer and closer to the moments of tension that kind of lead up to something shocking like that. And if you watch the first episode, then like what was really shocking was when someone just like, when that dude, that like racist guy or whatever, like just punched a lady, like, or slapped her or something like that. He physically attacked her without even a little bit of provocation. She's like, "Fucking fascist," and he's like, "Okay," and he's like fucking like backhands her or some shit. Messed up, man. I reacted. I don't know if anyone else reacted, but I was like, oh fuck. And so like the reason why I think that this is a kind of an analog to what's going on. Oh, come on, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Is like the social media, like the vertical footage, and then you have like the guy. Hang on, the guy who was stealing. Come on, let's see it. Come on. Come on. There you go. See that? Like, he's like, get out of our neighborhood. You know, like, it's really along the lines of like, these are our streets. You know, that kind of thing. I don't think that's bad, but it's not. it's again a little cheesy, a little surface level. But they're trying to fit in this commentary as well as the work itself, so it I understand. And then obviously it juxtaposes like the scene where you have like people being intimidated on the street is juxtaposed by the next scene where it's people who could be the elites who are like at this like gala and they're like at a dinner and they're all like enjoying themselves. You know, it's a clear parallel. And so now here she is. It seems like she can kind of sense when Bullseye's around. Like she kind of has like that sort of like shiver, and the therapist kind of gets it. Like she feels like that cold sensation. Again, I don't know where Vanessa's storyline is headed. I feel like she's just kind of being a wannabe kingpin and trying to do things behind the scenes. This could be them sort of trying to set up a husband versus wife sort of situation, which kind of seems like what they were alluding to in the season 1 of Born Again. But I don't know if I like that. I think it's boring. I think, you know, people they want to watch a punch 'em up, and they want to watch some of that espionage and intrigue of like organized crime, but I don't know if I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. We haven't seen all the episodes, right? So I don't know if it's gonna turn out to be a good thing. Like, is she gonna side with Bullseye? Is she gonna like try and help her husband like attack Bullseye, or like I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope that it is spelled out very quickly, just so that audiences don't get bored. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's really easy for audiences to get fatigued by filler episodes, which is why it's very hard to watch shows like Daredevil all over again. It's why it's hard to watch Supernatural. It's why it's hard to watch a lot of shows that have an extended number of episodes, because there's a lot to catch up on. There's a lot of context, and you don't necessarily know which are the essential episodes to watch or which are the essential comics to read, or et cetera, you know? So it's difficult, and it makes dedicating your time to a universe that you enjoy more difficult. And not more difficult, but like it makes it harder to do, because you can't just jump in, you know? Like, it's like I'm trying to read up and learn about D&D right now, and I'm trying to like, or Pathfinder. What I'm also learning how to I'm learning how to differentiate the two, or sort of in what ways they diverge. I just use D&D as like an all-encompassing term, and so it's one of those things where it's like, there's lore to the world of D&D. There's lore to, you know, the world of the Marvel comics. There's lore to all of this stuff. And it's very hard to get stuck in and understand comprehensively the storyline of something when there's so much material. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to be able to like learn as much as I can about a universe that I'm like watching a thing from. Like the Cloverfield universe was so cool. That whole like J.J. Abrams viral marketing campaign thing, that was all really cool. And I wanted to learn more about Slusho. I wanted to learn more about the universe. I wanted to learn more about the deep sea drilling and shit, you know? I thought that was really cool. And it helps flesh out a universe. It helps make people more immersed. It helps get them, you know, dedicated, like they become better fans, because then they're like, yeah, what happened about this one thing, and how's that person doing, and is everything okay with this? And you know, it's like it gives you more participation and it makes you feel like you have ownership over something that you're consuming. It's cool. Very hard to say anything other than it's cool. So I mean, obviously, we know that Bullseye's watching. Bullseye's always watching. Ugh. And then we get this White Tiger plot. She gets the medallion. Pretty run-of-the-mill stuff here. So, I think maybe this guy would have been hired to play like a young Fisk, perhaps, but what he's doing is he's turning this into an experience with the Kingpin. Even if he's not Fisk, even if he's not specifically doing a Fisk thing, he's brought her there to interrogate her. He has brought her there to pick her brain and to manipulate her and see if he can figure out if she's the one that's leaking the information, or even if she's the culprit of the, you know, who the masked person is impersonating Fisk. This is very. It's not really that intimidating because he takes a different approach. He's more of like the friendly, you know, the guy who's always gonna have your back, you know, hey, it's okay, you can tell me what's going on. But he gets very serious and he says, listen, if you're leaking stuff, you have to stop. That's the little bits of his humanity left. He may have to turn against her at some point in order to confirm and reinforce his loyalty to Fisk, and I'm waiting for it. We're all waiting for it, I'm sure. So he lulls her into a false sense of security, and then he's like, we got to talk about some stuff. And this is all just them trying to plug up the holes. Like, I think it's pretty... it's very notable that this woman is sort of, I guess, either occupying the office of mayor because they're trying to find a replacement, waiting for a special election or something like that, or she was appointed mayor, or whatever, or she's just handling the mayor's responsibilities when they give Spider-Man the key of the city, or the key to the city in Brand New Day. But this woman can never be accused of being the leak because she's too scared to do so. I don't think that she is capable of leaking information because she's definitely afraid she's going to get killed. She knows what Fisk is capable of. She knows what he's doing, and she knows... Like, she's there with him doing all the stuff that's behind the scenes. He only talks to Cashman when he's talking about killing people, right? Like, all the other, like not actually illegal stuff that nobody's gonna... Like, obtaining the Red Hook landing, that is... Or the Red Hook warehouse, or whatever the port is. Like, that's all above board, you know? BB probably has another guy anyways. Hi, Midnight Cafe, by the way. I think that she is not necessarily with anyone, but I don't think that she doesn't like him that way. Just in general. Like, she already said to Karen in the last episode that she wasn't into him that way, but it seems like he is into her that way. And I mean, it could be like a whole thing where like he gives her an ultimatum or something. Like, there could be, I don't know. I'm just speculating about how it's going to unfold, but it's a bit of a scary toss-up. It could be something where he like gives away the last part of his humanity to try and let her go, or he gives away the last part of his humanity by strangling her like Fisk did to her uncle. It's a dark speculation, but if he's going down that same route, if he's being groomed to be Fisk's heir, that would be one of the perfect things to like solidify that, right? How are you doing today, Midnight Cafe? You doing all right? So, and I think, I don't know, it seems, he says integrity can cost. He's definitely pushing back against the idea of just doing the right thing. Like, I think that he's trying to convince her that, you know, people have a price and that people aren't necessarily going to be, like, going to stay good or, like, any of that stuff. So, I don't know. I'm also doing good. Just doing a little bit of a surface level review of the episodes 2 and 3 of Daredevil Born Again, as you can clearly see. Doing the thing, you know? But like, again, when I say that this is all really kind of surface level, you can see that it's just underneath the surface of the narrative, where he's trying to struggle with retaining his humanity. It's not complex, which is fine, again, because they're trying to tell a story, right? And they've got precious few episodes to tell a story in. But that's kind of like why I miss sort of the old way of making television, is that you don't know how many seasons you're going to get. But there's every chance that because there's not enough programming on television, that you're probably going to get an extra season. You're probably going to like have a show, even if you go only 5 seasons, if you go 6 seasons, 8 seasons, whatever it is, you're going to be able to make that content, and it may get released somewhere. Like all those shows that got canceled from Fox, like not all of them, but a lot of them got brought out or got brought back and put back on the air. A lot of them went on to become cult classics and be aired on Adult Swim or Cartoon Network or whatever. Like a lot of that stuff is seen by a creator as a potential to tell the entire story. So they start telling the entire story. Even if they know they can't finish it, they tell the story. And that includes all the nuances, all the complex interweaving webs of things where you don't know. If the story was unclear to viewers the last week, you spend the next, you know, however many weeks trying to figure out how to make the next one or how to make the storyline make sense from here on out. And you would then be able to adjust in real time. You could iterate as you want, and it would make it easier to tell a full story because you would see how it's evolving in real time, as opposed to just having this, having an entire thing figured out and then doing the entire thing and then not being able to go back and fix any of it. Not necessarily that they didn't go through any iterations. Like, I know that this thing was caught in development hell for quite a while, but it also feels like they spent a lot of time trying to add in the things that they wanted to add at the last minute, which got it caught up in development hell to, you know, as probably one of the lesser factors, but still, like, any efficiency that you can create is always a welcome thing. Like, it streamlines things a little bit easier. But so, like, I think that he was trying to be intimidating to that lady, like, I forget what her name is, but I think he was trying to be intimidating, but I didn't feel any of that old Netflix where he's giving that monologue about his mother to Ben right before he kills him. Like, that's fucking scary. That it's viscerally scary. It is creepy, and it is like, you went after my mom, and I'm like, oh my god, oh shit, he's gonna kill him. You know, like, it gives you that sense of impending doom. This didn't give you any of that. None whatsoever. Just none. Which, again, I don't think that it's fair to necessarily ask that Krim Zarek comes back and does Netflix show, or does the Netflix Daredevil. But I feel like if we're taking that and we're using it as an example, we need to look at the writing the most. The writing is what makes it so special, because it really is indicative of Daredevil. It evokes Daredevil, you know what I mean? This one evokes general superheroes. Because he's yet to really talk about his faith. He's yet to talk about his dad's legacy. He's yet to face you know, the appropriate amount of ninjas, in my opinion. We need way more ninjas. All right, he's supposed to be super involved in ninja stuff. And what they did to Josie's from the Netflix series to now, what they've done to Josie's is just a travesty. That's where, like, it's supposed to be the No Name Bar, you know, where all the not No Name Bar. That's where the villains hang out. It's supposed to be Rosie's, I think. It's supposed to be the place where the Heroes for Hire hang out, where like the street level heroes hang out. Man, they did her dirty. So this was the thing that I was talking about. Now I don't know. Let me play a clip real quick, and then you'll understand where I'm coming from. Just let me play a nice casual clip real quick. It's you know. I fucking hate this guy, dude. What is it? Oh yeah. Broad City. What is it? Lost phone.
What? It won't let me. It says my storage is full. That sucks for you.
That does suck for you.
What is this? Look at this. Hi, baby.
So that's the same girl. If you didn't notice, Broad City is one of my favorite shows, or was one of my favorite shows. And Broad City is essentially how I wish I lived if I had a comedy partner. And so this actress, Janelle, the actress's name isn't Janelle, her character's name is Janelle. In one of the episodes of Broad City, she accidentally steals Abby's phone, and they go through this whole, you know, drama trying to get it back, and it all results in shenanigans, obviously. But this is the material that she took, or the footage or whatever. This is the phone storage was full. And she was like, "Oh my God, I knew it must be your phone because my mom was so nice when I called, and she never's nice to me." Like, she's just been drunk the entire time. And so this is what the phone was full of when she got it back. And so there's Ilana, and that's Abby, and so they're looking for the phone, and you could see that they actually were doing things from their perspective when the show was like in the middle of the show. But it's just fun, and this was the lady who, whatever. It was a punchline that it won't make any sense if I just tell it out of context. So that's her.
Angie. Jesse. What's going on?
So that's her. That's the actress. So it's really hard to take her seriously after I've seen her in Broad City. And she does at some point say something like, resist.
Fisk is hunting. Resist.
That feels corny. Resist and rebel. We don't I think, you know, the Antifas, the people who are, you know, a part of that really organized group Antifa, who have a leader and everything, they just say the resist part. They don't say the rebel part. That's kind of stupid. It's you say resist because saying rebel means that you're going to start a revolution, and that's like a potentially legal term, and they could prove the premeditation in a court of law if you're trying to say to someone that we need to rebel. So if you don't want to be guilty of sedition, then perhaps don't say things like rebel. Resist is fine, because that you can be passively resistant. But if you're saying rebel, you're asking for trouble, I think.
Rebel.
So nobody says, you don't say rebel. That's corny. Surface level. See what I mean? And now we're at spoiler territory. If you don't want to get spoiled, if you want to watch the episode yourself, and you don't want to find out who this person is, because we're about to find out. We're about to find out who the person under the mask is. If you don't want to find out who they are until you are watching the episode yourself, then please click away. Otherwise, here we go. Obviously. I'm pretty sure... Oh gosh. I'm pretty sure that, like, I don't know, 99% of people who've been watching this knew that the person under the mask was BB. Really no need for commentary there. I'm pretty sure most people knew that. She's like, I don't just post under my own name. Pretty obvious. Yeah. And so, like, Vanessa has this dream about a situation where she's got a blue rose, obviously indicating bullseye, and she's, like, walking. She's now out. She's teleported into a misty tunnel entrance. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And, I mean, it's ethereal, it's weird. She's like, I know why you came here. And then he, like, walks up and like, shoots her, but he, like, obviously you don't see anything because it just cuts back to her dreaming. And so she wakes up from her dream. We get a lot of, like, back and forth parallel scenes between the Resistance and Kingpin. And by the resistance, I mean Karen and Matt lying in bed together, and then, like, or sitting in a room together, or standing in front of a mirror together, whatever. It's always paralleled by this. I mean, it's great once or twice, but this is the third time they're doing it now. I think it's a little much. Like, we get it. There's a contrast. One pair seems to really love each other only on the surface. The other, well, actually, they both love each other, and they're both trying to fight for each other, but for different reasons. Some people are brought together by hope, others by strife. And then, obviously, okay, and then the Josie's gets raided, but nothing really happens. Daredevil beats up a bunch of bad guys. So cool. His outfit is so cool. So well done. So well done for this series. Got the DD and everything. Hell yeah. So then they have to meet someplace, yada yada, secret agent stuff. And I mean, I don't know what the goal of introducing these regular people as being part of the vigilante squad are. It probably will make sense in a further episode, but just for now, I'm not quite sure. Then in the next episode, hang on. So before we get into it. We'll just hang on. All right. I'm just going to go feed my dogs real quick and let them out and stuff. And I will be right back. Give me like 5 minutes. BRB. Oh, jeez. I'm coming back. Still 0 viewers. Sweet. Okay. Well. If you're just joining the vertical feed, stay tuned. Listen to the music. Still here. Skippy, I'll be back. Just a second. Just making sure my dogs are eating. All right. Hiya. Since it's about halfway through the stream, what I'm thinking we'll do is we'll put it we'll go to a subject that I've been wanting to cover. And then we'll go back to, we'll finish doing Daredevil reviews tomorrow. Figure if I spread it out over 2 days, that'll be just a little more like variety, you know, in the stuff. So I don't know if you guys have ever watched Answers in Genesis or any of those videos, but I really wanted to cover them yesterday. I didn't get a chance to. I would really like to cover them today. Let's see. Hang on, we'll do this. And then, gotta get my L hashtagarinos going. Hang on a sec. $3,100. Woof. All right. We save that. Then I gotta copy this information. Hang on. And then put that back there. Save that. Alright. We round it. Is what some people say sometimes. Guys, y'all need to chill. They're going crazy because it's raining. And like they go crazy because of the rain. Gosh darn it. Sorry, I'm just fixing up my titles and stuff here. Got that. Cancel that. Yep. And then go to this one. Go. I think that'll be fine on Twitter. Okay. All right. Or wait, no, it was. Whoops. There we go. All right, so today, for the second half of the stream, we're going to be looking at a channel called Answers in Genesis. I'm pretty sure a lot of my current viewers know the channel well. It is a very well-known disinformation channel. They put out a lot of stuff that tries to say that evolution isn't real, or that there's no way evolution could have happened, and I don't know. It's pretty dishonest most of the time, and it sucks that. Sorry, typing and speaking at the same time are not easy for me. Oh my god! Enter the phone from my code, or code from my phone. Eesh. Just to get to my damn dashboard. Can you believe it? Dude, god damn. Go talking about there we go. All right, we've got everything updated. We're fully updated. We're fully up to date. Titles look like they are what they're supposed to be. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the second half of the stream. All right. If you're just flipping in, welcome. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. I'm Goose. I mean, it says just to call me Goose, so just call me Goose. We're going to talk about Answers in Genesis. I've been following them, or at least the stuff that they say, for a while, and it's getting to the point where they're just lying. They're just pretty much lying all the damn time. So let's just see what some of them are saying, right? Hang on. So this video shreds evolution to pieces. All right?
Evolutionists are constantly telling the public that creation scientists are not real scientists.
I don't understand it, therefore God did it. That is not an intelligent scientific argument.
But there is a small but growing number of PhD scientists who do not accept that worldview. They believe the Bible. The evolution tree of life, there's really no scientific evidence, fossil or DNA, to confirm this theory. What?
I mean, that's just wrong. We have plenty of proof that I mean, this is a visual representation of what the evolution cycle looks like. I don't think anyone really relies solely on the evolutionary tree of life as their only source of proof that evolution is true. That's a weird assessment.
See in the Bible is confirmed by what we see in the world. The evolution tree of life is not true. Today we want to talk.
You're just saying words. At this point, you're just saying words.
About origin of species. Was Darwin right? And I want to begin with a quote by.
There have been so many years that have elapsed since Darwin wrote The Origin of Species. Our knowledge of evolutionary science has increased so much so that no one is a true Darwinist because people have learned more since then. We've learned so much more about evolution. Darwin didn't have carbon dating, as far as I know. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure he did not have carbon dating back then. I'm pretty sure that he did not I'm pretty sure he didn't have access to DNA sequencing or gene, any of the gene information, that gene expression information that we've been privy to in the years since Darwin was around. But the constant argument that you hear from Christians is that Darwin, like, it's all about Darwin. Oh, you guys are Darwinists. Like, what? No. You're just attributing another religion to people. That's why, like, Ken Ham and what's his face, the fucking dude, the old guy. Maybe it's a good thing I don't remember his name. That dude, that piece of shit, Kent Hovind. That's why he's always like, oh, there's no proof in this in the fossil record. There is no fossil record. What I think a lot of these guys do most of the time is they try and say that, like, theories are just theories and that they're not real and that there's no scientific backing for a theory. So if all you have in science is a theory, then you don't have any real facts at all. So therefore science is debunked. And it takes really no energy just to say, like, okay, then maybe they're using the word theory to substitute for a concept that people don't necessarily apply to these types of things or to that word. Like, that theory in this case, in terms of a scientific conclusion, is the most information that we can gather about something that then makes it reproducible, observable, or tangible, or whatever that you're trying to establish. It's very simple. Theory just is the official name that we gave to a grouping of facts. And, like, we can test those observations and we can verify that those observations come out consistently the same way every time, therefore proving the theory correct.
Arguably the most famous evolutionist in the world, Dr. Richard Dawkins, longtime professor at...
Dawkins is also not evolutionists' fucking Jesus. Like, Darwin is not their God. Dawkins is not their Jesus. You gotta stop looking at everything in religious terms, and because that's what the people in the past were able to do. They were able to put their religion aside and understand things about the universe that they wouldn't have been able to if they stuck with a strict doctrine. It's so easy to see that it really takes someone who's either trying to criminally grift people or who's just supremely stupid and ignorant and should never be listened to in order to fall for it.
Oxford University in England. He says, it is absolutely safe to say that if you meet somebody who claims not to believe in evolution, that person is ignorant, stupid, or insane, or wicked, but I'd rather not consider that.
I just said that. I just said exactly that. Either you're trying to fool people, which that's unforgivable. He'd rather not consider that. Totally. Or you're ignorant or stupid.
Well, I freely admit that I am wicked, saved by the grace of Jesus Christ, but I let my audience decide whether I am ignorant.
That's a very well-known, like, deflection tactic that Christians will use, is that, oh, well, I'm wicked, we're all wicked. No, you don't go out and grape babies, so you're probably not as wicked as, you know, some of the people running our country. But, like, that doesn't absolve the religion of anything. That doesn't make you more credible. Because what he's doing is, he's saying, well, I acknowledge that I'm wicked, but you don't see any of those atheists or evolutionists admitting that they're wicked, so therefore I am more legitimate. I don't think that's exactly how normal people see it. Normal people say, why would you admit to something like that? You know, I mean, if your attitude is like, well, if it weren't for the grace of God, I would be graping and murdering left and right, and I would have no morality to stop me, so therefore I need religion. Like, that's not a win. That's a red flag. That means that people should be scared of you. That means that the only thing keeping you from graping and murdering is answering to a higher power? And not just your default sense of right and wrong? It's very strange and extremely telling.
And insane. But I want you to notice something. That is what philosophers call an ad hominem attack. That is...
Nope. It is not. Ad hominem is when you replace an argument with a personal insult. Really bad debaters use this all the time whenever someone both makes an argument and insults them. I think that there's a balance to be had, right? As long as you give the proper information to debunk whatever it is an idiot is saying, it's okay if you call them an idiot after that. You can say, eukaryotic evolution is visible under a microscope, you fucking moron. That's not an ad hominem. That is, or like we witness eukaryotic cell division, you fucking asshole, you fucking piece of shit moron. You can say all that because it's wrapped up in an argument. See what I'm saying? Like, you can say, if someone says, like, well, how do we know how animals evolved? You can say, well, we can look at the fossil record, you asshole. Or, like, idiot. Or, like, bitch. Or, like, motherfucker. Look at the goddamn fossil record. Like, those are not ad hominem attacks because they do not replace the argument. Ad hominem is when you can't think of an argument to counter the argument that was given to you, and so as a result, you just start insulting someone. You start saying, well, you're a fucking idiot. That's an argument, which is bad. That's not a good argument.
Attacking a person rather than refuting an argument.
Nope. It's attacking a person without giving an argument, replacing an argument with a personal attack.
And whenever you hear somebody attacking their opponent personally with language like this, you know they don't have a defense for their position because they have to attack the person. And Christians should not attack evolutionists. They're smart people. Dr. Dawkins is brilliant. But is he right about evolution? Well, the evolutionary story for the origin of life is represented by what evolutionists call the tree of life. And they say that all the different plants, animals, and people are descended from a common ancestor, the first.
Can you hear that? I'm pretty sure that the mic is picking that up. They're like sawing something off the side of the building. Is what it sounds like. Is what it feels like in the rumbling that I'm feeling. The rumbling.
Single-celled creature that popped into existence in the primordial oceans about 3.8 billion years ago. So I like cell creatures that popped into existence, and people are descended from a common ancestor, tree of life. And they say that all the different plants, animals, and people are descended from a common ancestor, the first single-celled creature that popped into existence in the primordial.
Plants? Are you talking tunicates? Are we talking like corals and I mean, those are organisms. Those are living organisms. I don't know if they would be classified necessarily as animal. I'm not sure. The lines got blurred at some point, but at least he's not saying minerals.
Oceans about 3.8 billion years ago. So I like to represent the evolution tree of life this way. And the branches represent the different plants, animals, and people, all descended from that first living cell over.
No, I mean, no. No. So what he's doing is he's trying to make evolution sound ridiculous by saying that all life just comes from one single cell. I don't think I am not an evolutionary biologist, but I'm pretty sure it didn't happen that way. I'm pretty sure that the necessary chemicals that are needed to create life coalesced in a manner that allowed them to mix and react, that turned whatever the primordial soup was into a frothing, living liquid bullshit, whatever. But my guess is that that single-celled organisms were like born from, let's say, maybe like polyp type deposits that would then start to move around and flagella, and start to flagellate, and then consume. Like probably the first, I would assume, I don't know if this is true, but I would assume that the first single-celled organisms probably sustain themselves off of a combination of I don't know, like base materials, but mostly photosynthesis, right? Or like, I don't know. I'm guessing photosynthesis. I'm guessing that that one of the most primitive forms of life probably were like algae, or like things that are very rudimentary looking in terms of the complexity of life. Like a leaf, isn't that complex when compared to a tree, right? That kind of thing. Like it's a constituent part. It is what you would consider to be like a child part of a parent organism, etc., etc., etc. But it wasn't like it wasn't one single cell. Like it wasn't one thing that just popped into existence. It was a gradual progression of many different things that were all happening at the same time that happened to coalesce into life. And I don't think that we really know what that specific type of life looked like, but it happened to be single cell organisms, like millions and bajillions and trillions and yada yada of them. Like there are some scientists who say that life came to Earth on a frozen meteorite. Like somehow single cell organisms became living. And it wasn't just one thing that then branched off into everything. It was one thing with this many genes, this chemical makeup, and then another thing with this chemical makeup, and stretched out over millions and millions of years, small iterations at a time, the entire way.
Millions of years. We can call this the microbe to microbiologist theory for the origin of living things. But I also like
No, people really like oversimplifying it to that. If you imagine an entire population of monkeys, right? Let's just say monkeys, entire population of monkeys. A splinter faction of that population arrives on a group of islands, and that group of islands gets much less sunlight. There's not their staple food that they've learned how to get and sustain themselves for years and years and years, upon decades, millions of years, whatever, however long that species has been around. They've been consuming something special. They know how to get a certain way. So a splinter faction of that population moves off to an island, or is like cut off on like a tree branch or something. Like they end up going into this other like group of islands where none of the stuff that they need to survive is available. They need to adapt if they want to survive, right? They need to adapt into a way of being able to sustain themselves in this new environment with all this stuff that their bodies don't recognize. So over time and over generations, as long as whatever they're doing doesn't kill them all off, over times and generations, like they could develop adaptations through whatever mutations happen in those new generations because of the external stimuli. So they could be eating more algae. Let's say that they switch to a full algae diet. They could break down the algae and become more efficient algae eaters further on down the line because of adaptations that happen. They'd be small adaptations. They'd be like almost imperceptible differences, but it's an entirely different species at this point. Speciation is a result of these things, of these factors. So it's not just, they like to simplify it. They like to really oversimplify it. They like to say that one day out of a cow popped a human being. That's not how any of this works. It's not how you get a bird with extra features. Like you get, not extra features, extra feathers, right? So out of an egg, you might get a bird that has one cell of a follicle, and then out of the next generation, you might have another like group of cells that form a more complete follicle. And then out of the next generation, you might get another group of cells that forms that finishes that follicle, and it grows an extra or grows an extra feather or an extra piece of hair, because in that one spot, that's where previous generations were seeing all this like I don't know, skin cancer or something, like you would develop body hair as a mutation to cover that spot so it doesn't get sunburnt and you don't get skin cancer. You know what I'm saying? Like, very, 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 very infinitesimally small changes, rather than all of the sudden one generation a bird has an extra wing because it needs to flap faster or something. You know, that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen. There is no just straight up us, single cell to us moments. It's a small progression over millions of years. And Christians don't understand what millions of years looks like because a lot of them think the earth was created over 6,000 years ago.
Goo to you via the
Only
zoo,
6,000 years
because that's
ago.
what evolutionists believe. They never put it that way, but that's what they believe. And that view of the origin and history of life is based on some assumptions that control science today. They are the assumptions of the naturalistic worldview. The first assumption that controls the thinking of most scientists.
Reducing the entire body of scientific literature down to assumptions is reductive and is incorrect.
In the world is that nature or matter is all that exists. Now, not every scientist believes that. There are scientists who do believe in God, but most, I would say 9 out of 10 scientists early on were deists. They believed in some kind of God. So, debunked. Fuck you. Scientists do their work as if this is true. So they might believe in God on Sunday or Saturday or whenever they're going to their religious services, but when they do their science...
No. I don't know where this blanket statement that most scientists are naturalists comes from, but naturalist is like John Muir. Naturalist is like someone who looks and observes nature and talks about things like conservation and how nature got to where it was and how nature functions. It's not just a blanket statement that says that nature and matter are all that exist. It could be the sum up, a very casual sum up of what naturalists believe. But no, most scientists are not naturalists. I don't know why you would think that. Most scientists are empiricists in the sense that you believe the things that you can reliably prove. But that's most people in general. And even most religious people understand that the book is allegorical. That you cannot know for certain whether or not Jesus or God or whoever are these members of a supernatural race that can control things throughout the universe. You just assume that they are, which is hilarious projection. But you figure out the things that you can prove from there. You don't, the oversimplification, the statement that nature and matter are all that exist, that's where you start from. That's where you start the scientific process. You say, okay, what can we prove? We can prove that reality exists. We can prove that we're standing on something physical. Like that's it. But it's not a belief. It's not an assumption. It's not anything like that. It's just us observing what we can observe in real time, practically around us, and then we're taking science from there.
They do it as if nature is all that exists. The second assumption controlling science.
So this is just a sermon, really. This is you're saying things that you've made up so that you can disprove something that you don't like, or that disproves whatever it is that you're trying to prove.
Today is that everything can and indeed must be explained by three things: time plus chance plus the laws of nature. If you have those three things, time, enough of it, millions and millions of years, chance, and the laws of nature, the laws of physics and chemistry, the laws of genetics, you can explain the origin of life. Well,
no. Maybe scientists 200 years ago said that, but I'm pretty certain that that's not something that people typically believe right now. Explained by time plus chance plus the laws of nature. Again, this really feels like a gross oversimplification of the scientific process. I don't think that you can figure out the origin of life simply by time plus chance plus the laws of nature.
and the laws of nature, the laws of physics and chemistry, the laws of genetics, you can explain the origin of life. Well, those are the assumptions of what philosophers call naturalism, but it's known by another name. Those are the assumptions of atheism. And
Again, most scientists, especially in the beginning of science, were full theists. Like a lot of them were either Christian or Catholic or something. Like a lot of them, most of them believed in God, some kind of God. I don't know why he's specifically trying to say that most scientists throughout history were atheists. I mean, 99, not 99, but most people in general throughout history up until very recently were theists. No, assumptions of atheism. Atheism is simply that I don't believe in God. That's what atheism means. Theism is I believe in a God. Atheism is I don't believe in a God. There is no trick to that. There is no extra, there's no bonus material. It's I simply don't believe in God. I don't have to append anything to that, nor do I have to assume that nature or matter is all that exists. Why is it that people think that atheism is believing that God doesn't exist? That's not what it fucking is, you idiots. That's not what it is. It is, I don't believe in a God. That's it. That's it. A lot of atheists go further to say that I can prove that the Christian God doesn't exist. Okay, that's totally fine, but they're taking more on. They're taking on more responsibility. I just don't believe in God. That's not what atheism is at all. Those aren't assumptions of atheism. This section number 2 doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense as a sentence. Everything can and indeed must be explained by time plus chance plus the laws of nature working on matter. I don't, that's nothing that has ever gone through my head when deciding whether or not I was an atheist. That's just not a thing. Ever. For me personally. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no fucking representative of atheism. There is no one that we pray to. It's specifically the opposite.
Atheism controls science today. Not all scientists are atheists, but most scientists do their work as if atheism is true. But
Nope. Not even remotely correct. Not even remotely correct. Most scientists, watch, I'll let my boy Clint, I'll let him explain this.
But I've got to tell you, we're going to dive deep into some really cool aspects of ecology, paleontology.
Years. Who knows? Ask these questions of your evolutionary teacher next time he tells you this and see what he says. He'll have no answer for them. Sure. Because evolutionist believers have a certain language. They say maybe, perhaps, probably, could have. There's no facts.
So if you're not familiar with Clint is a evolutionary biologist. He's a herpetologist. He is an educator, and he is a theist. He believes in God. I'll let him explain his background, but it's good to see that this. Or I think it's good for you guys to see the contrast in how these people talk about evolution. The propagandist or the realist? Which one do you suppose is going to be more sensical in the words they say? Let's find out.
Well, hi there. That was a lot of questions. A whole gish gallop of them. But I have good news. I am a teacher of evolutionary biology. And an evolutionary biologist, so
hey!
That's what he wanted, right? They move pretty fast.
And he's also a theist. Enjoy.
So I'll try to get to all of them. Okay, so the first question...
While we watch this, it's 47 minutes long, and I would like to go through a lot of it because it's going to help us understand more about this other 50-minute thing. Gross. But I've sped it up, so I might skip around if it gets too stagnant, but it's important to watch this. If you are just tuning in for the first time, you may notice that I'm about to turn off my face cam. It is because I engage in medicating with the Cannabis weed So if you'd like to sync that up and you'd like to also engage in smoking of the candy boss, we're about to lift off in a few seconds, and I will let you know. But I'm also going to keep the video playing. I am still here, I promise.
Question was, do you believe in evolution? And belief is a word that can
All right,
mean a lot of
counting
things.
it down,
To be
5,
precise,
4,
I
3,
try to
2,
avoid the
1.
word
Smoke 'em
belief
if
when
you
I
got
talk about
'em.
science in general.
Cheers.
The truth is that I believe that all science is wrong. Science is a model of reality, not reality itself, and not the truth. The great thing about models is that they can often help us better understand the natural world. Science, at its best, is a highly predictive model of reality. But the problem with models is that they are all wrong. All of them. So I believe that our evolutionary model is wrong. But it is also, based on the evidence that we have available to us at this time, the most predictive and useful model we have ever had to explain how the diversity of life forms that we see today came to be since the dawn of life. I accept it as good science so far as I've been able to evaluate it. So belief is probably the wrong word for it, but I accept it for what it is, a powerfully predictive and useful model. His next question really starts off a list of silly questions, and I think I'll take them on all at once, since they all have the same fundamental flaw. In addition to the fact that the epiglottis is not the Adam's apple is a cartilaginous protuberance that protects the larynx, the voice box. The epiglottis is what he described it to be, a leaf-shaped valve that directs food to the esophagus and air to the trachea. So his questions were, how did man see before the eye evolved? How did man mate before the eye evolved? How did man eat food before his epiglottis evolved? How did man think before his brain evolved? How did he walk around, look for food, and live before his brain evolved? And how long did he have to wait for his brain to evolve? And the answer...
Let me see if I can answer these. Just off the top of my head, just from my knowledge. From what I understand, is the camera style eye is a variation of several millions of years of iteration on the single segment eye. I don't think it's called a single segment. It's what is it called? Whatever. The previous iteration of the eye. We had eyes. We always had eyes. At every point that a living thing was alive that sees, it had eyes. It's weird that Ray Comfort, who's the guy that I'm reacting to in this reaction of a reaction of a reaction. What has YouTube turned into? My God. But we've always had, like, the living things always had some kind of brain. It just may have been rudimentary. It may have been like only half of what we would have understood the capacities of the brain of today. And it wasn't just that there were humans that didn't have brains. It wasn't that there were humans that had half brains. It's that humans came from a mother species that had brains and eyes, and they came from a mother species that had brains and eyes, and they came from a mother species that had brains and eyes, etc., etc. It feels like a weak argument to assume, or like to assume and then argue that, oh, well, how did we mate before we had eyes? How did we eat before we had the epiglottis? Dude, motherfucker, like something had one of those things along the way, and that's how they sustain themselves. How else would we have evolved if we didn't have a successful population of our mother species available to procreate? We wouldn't have.
Answer to all of these questions are he didn't and no time at all. The first humans, really no matter how broadly you want to define humans, had eyes, an epiglottis, and a brain. So he didn't have to wait for the brain to evolve, and man didn't see before the eye, eat before the epiglottis, or think before the brain, because man didn't exist before those structures evolved in his lineage. We don't think that humans evolved from an eyeless, epiglottisless, brainless human. We think that humans evolved from other apes, which evolved from other monkeys, which evolved from other primates, which evolved from other eutherian mammals, which evolved from other mammals, which evolved from other synapsids, which evolved from other amniotes, which evolved from other tetrapods, which evolved from other fish, which evolved from other vertebrates, which evolved from other chordates, and it goes on until you get to the origin of life. And almost all...
We were fish people. We were fish people at one point. Guys, can we get votes on the poll? Because right now it says that the left is more evil than God. And that just ain't true. So, can we get some more votes on the poll? That'd be nice.
Chordates have eyes and a brain. And almost all, if not all, mammals have an epiglottis. And pretty much all other living creatures are doing just fine without one. Plenty of animals are doing just fine today with a brain and no eyes and no brain, neither a brain nor eyes, and basically all of those animals also don't have an epiglottis. So can animals live without them?
Plenty of animals without
the
eyes.
The overwhelming majority of all animals don't have all three of those features, and many have none of them. They aren't humans, but nobody thinks that we evolved from humans without those features. This is just a straw man argument. Not an uncommon one, but a silly one. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with a straw man argument, we outlined it in our first video on this topic. But a straw man argument is when instead of attacking the...
It is very tired, I would say, for people to keep using arguments like this.
Best version of a person's argument, the steel man, or even a position the person actually holds, you invent a different, weaker version of their position, the straw man, that they don't even hold, and then tear that down instead. So I'll make this a non-straw man. The questions would then be, how did the ancestors of man see before the eye of...
Hang on, we gotta switch back and forth, because this stuff is related.
Is a small but growing number of PhD scientists who do not accept that worldview. They believe the Bible as God's eyewitness testimony about the origin of everything. And we have a number of scientists associated with Answers in Genesis that have...
Right. So instead, we have a small but growing group of people who believe in magic. And they're going to conduct science as though they believe in magic. I don't know if this sounds like a good idea. I think that sounds like a really bad idea.
PhDs from secular universities in astronomy, biology, geology, paleontology, and genetics. And they love science, but they do not believe that the evolutionary view is...
But none of this is evolutionary biology? They don't have, none of them have evolutionary biology degrees? They all have every degree other than evolutionary biology? Have they considered shutting the fuck up?
Consistent with the scientific evidence, and they have a biblical worldview. And there are 2 points to this biblical worldview for our topic today. And that is, the eternal, good, all-knowing, all-powerful, holy God exists, and he created everything else.
But he cannot be, if our understanding is that murdering innocent young women who do not bleed on their first time after getting married, if we don't believe that that's a bad, or if we believe that that's a bad thing, then we have to understand that God can't be good, because if he's all-knowing, then he knew that that was going to happen. And so if our morality tells us that murdering innocent women is a bad thing, then God can't be good, because if he's all-knowing, all-powerful, and that he, exists across time and space, he would have been good to have not ordered that. So if our sense of morality comes from God, meaning that, the Christian point of view, if we are supposed to be moral and good, and we can all agree that murdering innocent young women is wrong, then that disproves God of the Bible. So maybe don't be dumb.
Now that's a very different starting point than nature is all that exists. But that God is not silent. He's spoken through one book, the Bible. And
but you're limiting your legitimacy, because now you're saying that all of your scientific approaches, if they are to come from a biblical worldview, are going to simply only be based on one point of reference and a credible authority who we can't hear, see, or feel, or know what they're saying, because if we're to understand the canon, it would make our brain explode.
So I like to define the Bible this way in relation to our topic. The Bible is God's completely truthful eyewitness testimony, which explains the key events in history so that we can correctly interpret the evidence we see today resulting from the origin and history of the creation.
So then your second point even goes further to disprove the first point, and kind of just puts the last nail in the coffin here. So if the Bible is God's completely truthful eyewitness testimony, that means it is incontrovertible. That means it is absolutely 100% verified as true, literal, real, 100% authentic, completely intrinsically tied to reality and history, and like the holy book. Okay? If that is true, if we are to take that at face value. I'm going to ignore the rest, just because that doesn't further define the Bible, which he said he was trying to do. Instead, I'm going to explain how that... Yeah, we're good. I'm going to explain how that disproves point number one. Point number one is very obviously a self-contradiction. But if we take point number two at its word and we agree that it's true, if I'm just to assume all of that stuff, then saying that it's a completely truthful eyewitness testimony means that God truly did have the ability to design things in such a way that he wasn't ordering for the death of innocent young women, and would have either made them all bleed on their first time or would not have set a rule like that in the first place. And, then he would have been good. Instead, he's bad, which means that if he's only ever good, that he cannot exist because he's objectively bad, then he would order the death of the innocent young woman, which he does. So the eternal, meaning across all of time and space, able to observe everything, omniscient, omnipresent, yada yada. Good, meaning objectively good, meaning he is the objective source of morality, right? All-knowing, meaning he is the ultimate biologist, he's the ultimate therapist, he's the ultimate scientist. He knows every single thing about every single thing. All-powerful, meaning he can alter reality in any way. He can make a sitting, standing man. He can do anything he wants. In addition to that, we now have to ask ourselves, according to this objective good, objective moral good, we have to ask ourselves, is the murder of innocent young women a good thing or a bad thing? Is slavery a good thing or a bad thing? Is indiscriminate murder, ethnic genocide, are those colonialism, are those good things or are they bad things? And if we can agree as a group of people, meaning a whole civilization, a whole society, if we can agree that murder, grape, PDF files, all that stuff, if we can agree that all of that is bad, then God cannot exist because he ordered those things in the Bible. And if you don't believe he ordered one of those things, he still ordered the other things. And we're talking like incest, we're talking it's a whole host of things that God ordered in the Bible that would make him objectively bad in our worldview as human beings. Therefore, God is not good, or if he is only good, he cannot exist. If he is not good, okay, sure. You guys can go ahead and argue that till the cows come home. That's fine. If he's not good, then yeah, he probably would have ordered for slavery, probably would have ordered the death of innocent girls, that kind of thing. Yeah, sure. But then your religion is not a religion of peace or love. It's a religion of cold-blooded, indiscriminate murder and ethnic genocide, nationalism, fucking shittiness. And that is so unacceptable for people that they would rather just believe that magic is real and that they don't have to know the ins and outs of things in order to believe and support them. Which is why, maybe God can be an asshole, kind of, and that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing for people. I don't know if you catch whether that's good or bad. It's a bad thing. Just for the record books. So no, this second point just hammers home how untrue the first point is. So it's kind of a cell phone. Pretty funny.
Now, when we open up that Bible, the very first chapter is an account of the creation of the world. And in Genesis 1, on day 3, God created all the land plants. And there is a phrase that appears there 3 times. God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit after their kind." And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind. That same phrase is also used on day 5, when God created the sea creatures and the birds after their kind. The same phrase is used again on day 6, when God created the land animals to reproduce after their kind. Now, Carol Linnaeus was the Swedish scientist who developed the modern classification used by taxonomists. When he first started his research, he thought that the created kinds was at the level of what he called species because he was reading the Latin Bible, and the Latin Bible translated the Hebrew word in Genesis 1 as species. But as he did more research, and people sent more samples to him, later in his life, he came to the conclusion that no, the created kinds is probably at the level of what I call genus. So it's...
What the fuck is the point to this? He's using a word in an old text to talk about something that people are studying in modern day. We have more technology. We have a better understanding. We aren't just saying, like, that this has anything to do with kind, genus, species, type, or whatever the fuck. The whole of evolutionary science isn't just hinged on a single translation of a word that you guys are now saying is incorrect. For how long? How many hundreds of years? 1707? 700 fucking years after Jesus died? 700 years? They were using it, and everyone was fine with the whole classification of kind, because we didn't fucking have those terms back then. Or we didn't have those terms until then. You nutter.
Not the level of what...
You like my accent? You guys like my accent? You nutter. Hello, Poppet. You like it? It's pretty good. It's a pretty good English accent. It's a pretty good English accent, I'd say. Governor. Right? Oh, posh. We'd be gardens. We'd be gardens. Garden. I sit in a plastic chair on my garden.
We call species.
Pretty good, right?
But more research has been done by creation
This is an English accent.
scientists today as they look at scientific reports of breeding of animals in captivity or in the wild. And we think that in most cases, the created kind is at the level of what we call today family. So you could have many different species within a
Oh my
kind.
god. Oh, how do people fucking watch this shit? Jesus. I have it going at like 2 times speed. 1.5 times speed, and it is not fast enough. Holy shit.
God created mankind, but he didn't create any of those people. He created Adam and Eve. And now, because of our understanding of genetics, we understand that in the genetic code of Adam and Eve was all the genetic information to produce all the variety of shades of brown skin color, hair color, eye color, and other distinctive physical characteristics we see in mankind. God created the dog kind.
I mean, the fact that we don't all look like, who was it, King Philip II? The fact that we don't all look like that motherfucker is, I was gonna use a word that I think is considered a slur now, but the reason we don't look like that dude is very well tied into the fact that we couldn't have just come from a single couple. I think it takes like 1,400 pairs. I think I remember seeing that in a YouTube video at some point, but I think it takes quite a large and diverse group of individuals to come together to provide enough genetic diversity to not have us all drooling and chewing on wooden spoons and shit. Not that I never chewed on a wooden spoon before. They can be pretty tasty.
We don't know exactly what it looked like, but evolutionists and creationists are in agreement that probably the first dog was something like a gray wolf. And in the genetic code of those dogs was all the genetic information to eventually produce all the wild and domestic dogs that we see today and in the fossil.
Well, does he think that breed is the same as a races for humans? Because that's not how that works. Melanin content in the skin is usually regional. It's like a regional based metric. I don't know that it's the same thing as dog breeds. We don't have humans that are, and this is like from a creationist point of view too. Like I'm not a creationist, but I mean, like, just thinking of my best Kent Hovind viewings, it would be like he would say, like, you don't see a human that's in proportion to other humans as tall as a Great Dane or as small as a Corgi, right? That means the fossil record doesn't exist. But no, he's associating humankind, like race, with us to be the same as as dog breeds. Interesting stance.
Record. We don't know what the first cat looked like, but it had all the genetic information to eventually produce the wild cats and the domestic cats and some really unusual cats.
I mean, in a really, really nebulous way, I guess. Sure. Because the way that this isn't, you don't just have like programs like in a computer that then deploy when you give birth. Like it doesn't, how do I describe this? We don't just have information stored inside us. Like you couldn't like split me open and okay, this is visceral. You wouldn't be able to just split my skull open and look at my brain and see the information that is there. Like, nor would you be able to like plug something in and translate it. We've not cracked that yet. Very close, because that Neuralink shit is real scary. But you can't just observe information in somebody's skull. Like that's not how this works. So it would be weird to say that we have the genetic information to make other things like in our DNA or in our genome or whatever his point is. It doesn't work like that. Again, we observe evolution happening over millions and millions and millions of years, and it's always some very, very small change in something that allows it to survive better in the world, in whatever region they are. And again, that would also kind of lend to the fact that humans don't operate that way, because we increase body hair and body mass just a little bit. It's not like mutations and melanin, it's not a mutation. It's just a result of, where we've settled. Honestly, our ancestors were all, as far as I understand, very highly melanated.
Like a lion and a tiger being crossed.
Liger!
We have cats and we have dogs, and they both have 4 legs, they both have whiskers, they both have hair, they both have tails, but nobody has ever seen a dat or a cog.
I mean, their genetics just aren't compatible. Like what's your point?
That's because God created the cat kind and he created the dog kind.
Oh, for Christ's sake. They try to tie in, and this is Answers in Genesis specifically. I don't know if this is anybody else, but they try to tie in the idea of scientific classing, like the scientific classes being what the Bible meant when it said kind or species or whatever. But they completely get it, like they get it wrong. They always move it up a rung or down a rung or whatever. Like it's here, they put it up to family, which means, like, from what I understand, kind would now mean all the different dogs and all the different cats and all the different, whatever. And he associates people with that too. I don't think it's the same thing. But you're taking a book that you've read a million times, and you're trying to make what you believe fit the text in that book so you can say it was right. So you're then, it's confirmation bias, I think. That's what that is. And then you're looking at the pages of that book and you're saying, oh, there it is. I never thought I'd see that. Yes, you're projecting it onto there because you're trying to just push forward what you want to push forward. So yes, no, you would never see a dat or a cog because they're genetics are just incompatible. They wouldn't. I don't know that I've ever seen or heard of a cat trying to mate with a dog or vice versa, but I don't think it's just not in their instinctive drive. Like I don't I'm sure I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. I hope that's not a thing. I really hope that's not a thing.
We don't know exactly what the first elephants looked like, but they had the genetic information to...
They were tiny. They were really small, and that's very cute. I would love to have like a mini elephant. I would love that. Just the size of like a dog. Oh, that'd be so cool.
to eventually produce the mastodon, the woolly mammoth, the African
They weren't that small. They were about the size of like a llama. So they were still pretty big, but not like towering.
elephant, the Asian elephant, different size ears, different size tusks, different amounts of hair, but that's the elephant kind. He created the camel kind to eventually produce the one hump.
I think that elephants and woolly mammoths are different species, but I might be wrong on that. I don't think that woolly mammoths are the ancestors of elephants. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember that being the case. I think that might have been not a thing.
Hump camel, the llama, the alpaca, the guanaco, and the ficuna. He created the horse kind to eventually produce the Great Clydesdale, the Shetland pony, the zebra.
Well, he's mixing up breed with like actual species, right? Because the Clydesdale is just a breed of horse, but a zebra is a completely different species, and so is a donkey. I almost said burro. Feeling a little Latin today. Latino. People get fucking caught up if I say Latin. They think, oh, they actually like speak Latin. No, it's the fucking root of the Latino word. God damn it.
The donkey, and unusual horses like the zebrula, the African wild ass, and out at our Ark Encounter Zoo, the horse and the zonkey. And a few years ago, I was going to get on a plane at the Cincinnati Museum, and I saw this lady with Lisp, fully mature, which she takes to nursing homes to help the patients feel good. Well, you also have great variety that got built into the plant kinds as well, and a lot of...
No.
merging of characteristics, all within a single kind. But you've never seen a bantamelon, you've never seen a snurd, you've never seen a duckodick.
Oh my god, dude. What? This is this is like kind of the shit that I used to do when I was in high school, and I was taking like digital art courses. I would just make shit like this all day long. Duckodial. I love that. I love that. Oh man, it makes me want to do that again. I'm pretty sure I forgot everything I ever learned about Photoshop at this point. I mean, again, like there all of these at some point had a common ancestor, you know, like I know that's ridiculous to hear, like that, you know, that birds and lizards might have been related at some point, or that birds and lizards might have been related at some point, or that plants might have been related at some point. I know that's hard to hear. I'm kidding. Really fucking stupid. I know you won't see those creatures. They're completely different species, different animals, and whatnot. Like, why would you? Why would you?
A zebrasaurus.
That's like a mad
cool if we had
scientist.
animals like that, but we don't see those.
Like hybridizing shit, you know, like that'd be cool.
Because God created after their kind. And that same phrase appears in Genesis 6 when God told Noah to take two of every...
Well, no, what you've just done is you've actually proven that the Tree of Life works to anybody who's not just sleeping right now. Because you will never see one of those things, even though you just laid out that evolutionists believe that they diverged. You very clearly, you said this is what evolutionists believe, that these species diverged, that they split off, and you just fucking said you'll never see hybridized species of things because they would never exist because you laid out how evolution works. I feel like you have to be stupid. You know, maybe I was just saying exactly what fucking Dawkins was saying. Like, you have to be dumb to not understand how contradicting even just this fucking sermon is. All right, let's hear what Clint has to say about
how did the ancestors of man find a mate before the eye evolved?
The video.
How did the ancestors of man eat food before the epiglottis evolved? How did the ancestors of man think before the brain evolved? How did they walk around, look for food, and live before the brain evolved? And how long did they have to wait for brains to evolve? Before the camera-style eye evolved, they probably saw like the animals we described in this video. But before that, they didn't see. They found mates in ways not unlike the way that eyeless animals find mates today. And many were likely asexual.
Starfish,
they ate
like
food similar.
Think about like starfish. How the fuck do you think starfish mate? Like, They don't have eyes. They don't have fucking, like, barely have a brain. It's like, it's just it's a what is it called? Liminal cords, or like it's a set of like electrical impulse receiving jelly squigglies, and it goes throughout most of their body, and like I think they can like retract them and put them into one leg if they have to. Like if they get part of themselves cut off that doesn't cut their whole brain off, then they can live and they actually split into two. Very cool. Back from lunch, what's up? And so that's why you can get them to like start like creating clones of themselves. Pretty weird. Pretty strange.
Similarly to the way that almost all animals eat today without epiglottises. In fact, if lungs were not an out pocket of the gut, it would have probably made a lot of sense not to have food and air go down the same tube to start with. But evolution does not work with what would be the best design, but what is available. And lungs coming off of the gut are the only lungs vertebrates have ever had to work with, so they make it work. I'll also add that reptiles seem to do it better. Turtles, for example, don't seem to reuse any tubes. The trachea extends through the tongue, which can seal up to close it off when feeding, and then it plugs into the backside of the nostrils when the mouth is closed and they breathe.
Those fleshy weird holes are so weird. Gross.
And snakes have something similar with a glottis that can extend outside of the mouth, so they can snorkel around food when eating, then plug it into the nostrils when the mouth is closed. Same problem.
So weird. I hate that. I hate that. It's so weird. Even like human mouths are so weird.
Different solution. And lots of animals do just fine without brains. Some of them don't even have nervous systems. The oldest evidence of life is about 3.7 billion years old, and the first evidence of organisms with brains
Fleshy weird
is a little
holes.
over half a billion years old. So it looks like at least 3 billion years. Hope it was worth the wait. Of course, most lineages of organisms are still waiting, and they're doing great.
This video is sponsored by our friends at Ground News.
I know
As a
I'm
science-based
waiting.
channel,
I'm
we care
waiting
about
to
truth,
evolve.
evidence,
I would
and
love to
critical
get
thinking, especially in a
special mutant X-Man powers. I would love it.
You find single-celled or multi-celled organisms, right? And you go from single-celled or two-celled organisms to 4-celled, to 8-celled, to 16-celled. You go through a progressive evolution, if you will, of these organisms evolving into an increasingly more being-like creature. So evolution says, basically, that some bacteria got together in a mud puddle.
It's a weird way of saying it. But I mean, I guess if you're able to figure out what he's meaning by the words he's using.
And they mated, and we went from single-celled organisms to multi-celled organisms to quadricellular to hexacellular.
But not right away. He's squishing that timeline. I think he's squishing it down. He's condensing it. Look at Clint. Oh my.
To multicellular, and then these organisms began to form into systems that created organ systems, and then you basically had what is a...
Oh no, he went into the wrong direction. No. He said cells formed and expanded and multiplied into an organism that then formed the series of, or then formed the material of organs that then formed the next. That's not how that worked.
Rudimentary, non-air breathing organism that was in the water to an organism that had gills, and then those gills moved out onto land, and then they started to breathe oxygen, and then this whole lineage of species.
Creatures with gills moved out onto land and started breathing air?
Evolved from this. The problem is there's zero evidence of that. The problem
Zero?
is you have these single-celled organisms and multi-celled organisms, and then there's just a giant gap in the fossil record. And you have animals, and then you have man. But we don't have a fossil record that takes us from single and multi-celled organisms into an entire species.
Organisms?
And we just simply ignore that.
Wow,
and so
I didn't know that.
We ignore the science that would
Wow, I didn't know that.
let it validate that evolution was, and two, for me, when I really study the human body, and by the way, we have barely scratched the surface of understanding, this thing that God created. This ecosystem is so intelligent, and it couldn't, not in my opinion, but in the scientific evidence, it could not have been put together by accident. It didn't happen by happenstance.
Oh boy. Okay.
As far as I know, nobody thinks that it just happened through happenstance. Like, I'm pretty sure most people agree that there's a very long progression over millions of years, again, with very small infinitesimal changes. Like, a bird gets an extra long wing on the tail feathers, or extra long feathers on the tail feathers, so that it can control itself better in a very windy environment, because this environment's getting windier. Like, just very simple shit.
To be perfectly honest, this guy sounds like an improv comic playing an expert arguing against evolution. Or maybe somebody who lied about his qualifications and then wound up being interviewed anyway. But
oh, thank God he sounds as ridiculous to Clint as he does to me.
that was a train wreck. And I'm going to do my best to restate his arguments more clearly than that, while addressing some of the erroneous statements that he made as well. It could be that this guy is an actual expert on the human body, but he clearly doesn't know very much about evolution at all. And, I would probably sound pretty crazy if I were asked a bunch of tough questions about human anatomy and physiology, and I didn't feel comfortable just saying that I don't know. So I'll try to be charitable. His big picture argument against evolution seems to be perceived holes in the fossil record. He seems to think that we should see a progression from 1 to 2-celled, and then 4, 8, and 16-celled organisms, like we see in early cell divisions of multicellular organisms. And then an evolution into progressively more what he calls being-like creatures. And I'm going to pause there because that isn't really what we would expect to find. I would expect the first cellular life forms to be very simple cells, then more complicated cells, and then colonies of cells. It would actually require a lot more mechanisms to get a colony to stop growing at 2, 4, 8, or 16 cells than to just keep growing. And all it takes to get single cells to become a colony is that they have to stick together for some reason. Any reason will do. Bam, got a colony. So I would expect to see colonies of cells of no particular size. Then I would expect slight amounts of specialization, perhaps like we see in sponges, where the cells work together but can also survive independently. Then higher levels of specialization where the cells are so interdependent that they can no longer survive in isolation. From there, tissues, organs, organ systems, and I would expect all of that to predate being-like creatures. And I would predict that if by being-like creatures, he means human being-like creatures, and given that human being-like creatures exist now, I would predict that the farther back in time you go, the less human being-like, the most human being-like creatures you can find on Earth will become. And this is the exact pattern that we see not only in the fossil record, but also reflected in the genomes of organisms alive today. You can use nothing but the genetic code of living organisms to build a phylogenetic tree of life, and the pattern that I just described that is also reflected in the fossil record very much emerges from it. But he wasn't done, because he then took another crack at explaining how evolution...
Yeah, I don't understand a lot of that. I guess I kind of... I get it in a broad sense, but I am not that... A lot of that just kind of flies over my head. All right, how are the creationists doing?
Kind of land animal and bird onto the ark. And so from this we have what I like to call the creation forest of life. Each tree represents a different kind of creature. So one of those trees is the dog kind, one is the alligator kind, one is the chicken kind, and the branches represent the variation within a kind.
Chicken
and that
kind?
variation was produced in the 1600 years leading up to the flood, and then animals.
Right, but you have no way to explain how they formed without just saying, well, God used magic to create them. Like, I think most modern day Christians would agree that some element of evolution would have to be true just scientifically. But I think that they think that scientists don't know for sure, so they have doubts and they call it into question, is what it seems like.
Came off the ark and they had more time to produce variety within their kind, but one kind doesn't change into a different kind. The trees stay distinct in the forest. So two different ways of looking at the origin and history of life. And these are the only two views. Either everything descended from a single common ancestor, or they didn't. And there's no evolutionist who believes that...
No, again, as Clint said, it really is just you would take clumps of cells and then the cells would have specializations and then the cells would form together like they wouldn't be able to form, or they wouldn't be able to be by themselves and survive, and then you would see larger and larger groups of these cells, or these cell colonies, and they would then turn into like sort of functioning organ systems and like, basically like proto-lungs before the animal exist around them, and they would become more and more complex, more and more specialized, larger and larger colonies, etc., etc. It's like spore, I guess, kind of, in a very small way.
That one kind of creature just popped into existence and then another kind of creature just popped into existence. So these are the only two views. Some people try to combine these views, but you can't do it. They try to say, well, God used evolution to create. But there's a number of reasons why you can't do it. First of all, the Bible tells us how long ago the days of creation were. They were only about 6,000 years ago.
Right.
From our reckoning. Furthermore, you can't do it because the order of events in the evolutionary story contradict the order of events in the Bible in Genesis 1. So the evolutionary story, you have fish, and then land plants, and then dinosaurs, and then birds over millions of years. But the Bible says God created all the land plants before he made a single sea creature, and he created the birds on the same day before he made the dinosaurs. So you cannot harmonize the evolutionary story with the biblical account of creation, and they're meant...
Just because, I'm sorry, there's just one thing in the Bible that says you're not allowed to mix an entire body of science with what the actual evidence says. Sorry, you can't cross the streams here. You're just not allowed. Anywho, it's 1 o'clock. Today went by really quickly, but it is time for me to say goodbye. We're just gonna cut it here. We didn't get very far into these, but I mean, we can either continue with these, but I wanted to start tomorrow with wrapping up on the Daredevil review, and then we'll get into that. All right? Shit. Have a good one. Later, guys. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.